Oh, Tariq Nasheed.
Hey,
Okay, yeah,
Tariq, I just want to say, congratulations to George Floyd. He's been sober for 4 years.
W. George Floyd.
So it sounds like you have some goofy individuals. I don't know whose voices those were. And they were making light of this deceased individual who got a lot of PR. You have some jokesters here who clearly are not there for a meaningful conversation. Rather, they're there to poke fun, to be negative, to express their hatred and discrimination. And we'll dig into all of these mentalities and psychologies.
How you guys doing? What's happening in the white supremacist sphere?
White supremacist sphere, an Arab guy, a Blasian, a Jew. This is not really white supremacist.
Yep.
So that's Sneako's voice. And Sneako is not a very intelligent person. Only in a world where you have a declining IQ, you have a multitude of persons who are not very well educated. Only in that world is a person like Sneako well regarded. He even looks stupid. It's one thing to be stupid. It's another thing to look stupid. You ever look at somebody and just based on their face, they look like they don't speak English? You ever seen somebody like you look at them like you don't look like you speak English, or you look like you talk and communicate and grunt, like you talk like the football coach on The Water Boy. Sneako has that primitive looking face. He's a mongrel. Really, it's strange that a mongrel would want to be in discussions of race in as much as he doesn't have a race, right? There are three primary racial categories. Negroid, which is the first. It is the one that gave birth to the other racial categories. For the first humans, according to science, were Black humans. Then you have the Caucasoid and the Mongoloid, which is typified by the Asian type and the European type. Sneako is a mongrel, which is to say a mixture of different types, but there's no purity. Furthermore, when he's discussing, saying, oh, we can't be white supremacists because one of us is a mongrel, myself, Sneako, another one is a Jew, and another one is this, and another one is that, that's completely untrue. Undoubtedly, there's a multitude of individuals who don't fit within the white collective who are, in fact, white supremacists. I would name Beyonce as one such example. She's a Black female who wears blonde hair. Blonde is a phenotype of Northern Europeans. Additionally, you could look at Sammy Sosa, who's an Afro-Latino, which is to say racially Black, ethnically Dominican or Latino, and he bleached his skin to a ghastly, ghostly appearance because he is in fact a white supremacist. White supremacy is actually quite common, and for logical reasons, in as much as the whites have dominated in recent history. Anytime a people dominate, they will be emulated. That's why you find that the Arabs, who now inhabit a land that we today call Egypt, they call themselves Egyptians, but this is ludicrous. They're Arabs, they're Arabic speaking. They came in as a conquering people. The land that is today Egypt has been conquered many times, but because the Egyptians, the pyramid building race, were such exceptional persons, their identity has been co-opted and these persons claim to be native. The claim of being native is actually quite common. For example, we see increasingly that Black Americans are saying that they are native. They are native to the to the Americas. What is more likely is that the presence of the Black American, today's Black American, their DNA, the presence of their DNA in the Americas does predate that of Columbus and the Europeans. This is what I think is more rightly the argument. There's a lot of academic research that is very reliable and well regarded, done by individuals like Dr. Ivan von Sertima, and books that I reference in my Amazon link, which I believe is below. It's a number of books that you can read the research on this. Now, to suggest that they predate the red man, which is to say the aboriginal to the Americas, I don't think that's quite right. But the fact is, often a superior culture, which goes into decline as all civilizations fall, the persons who come in as the conquering force or the occupiers, they try to often identify as that past culture or try to eradicate them, as in the case of the Europeans who came to America, who now call themselves Americans and who have marginalized the aboriginals of this land onto reservations. Shout out to Miles. He writes, "Peace to the Saints, Mr. Burden. What are your thoughts on Congress trying to pass a bill that will automatically draft men into war ages 18 to 26? Well, my first thought is I'm pleased that I'm older than 26, and I'm also pleased that I don't have any children in that age range. This is not new. I think that this will be the weakest lot of recruits that can be brought in, but there's nothing to think about. It shall be done, and people are cowardly. They're going to yield. He writes, is this a preview to a future war? What do you mean future war? The United States is always at war. In fact, you'd scarcely find a time that the U.S. was not at war. But what it's telling us is that they're having trouble with selective service. They're having trouble with recruitment. And the data has been clear on this. He writes, I find it interesting that we would go to war when we are facing corruption on our soil, like the Trump conviction, in addition to our immigration issue. And yeah, I mean, the government, and he writes huge debts with the U.S. government. Yeah, the United States government is not rational. So what you're speaking of is rationality. The American government, especially as it's an ailing empire, reveals that it's in its final throes, and rationality is not the order of the day when an entity is falling. It's falling because it's dysfunctional. So of course you expect the decisions and behaviors to be dysfunctional as well. May I also acknowledge Joshua supporting the work. Appreciate you. Shout out to JV Air, also came in via PayPal, sends in tuition. And shout out to the real ones actually supporting the work. And also acknowledge the ballers. Shout out to Mr. Mugisha comes in. He writes, paying what I owe and looking forward to the unmatched amount of game as always. You heard me? Carrying on.
Well, you're a wannabe, Myron, and Sneako, he's a mutt. I don't know what Sneako is, but Sneako, I know a good dentist.
Hey, for the record, nobody knows what Sneako is. I even looked up his parents because I was curious. People keep saying he's Haitian and Asian. I don't know what variety of Asian, perhaps Filipino. You would think Filipino parents would have raised him better than that. Very lovely people, the Filipinos. But anyways, Haitian we tend to think of as a race, but it is not a race. It is in fact a nationality, or it is an ethnic origin. The Haitians, similar to the Black Americans, largely composed of those who have been brought over through the transatlantic enslavement. And typically, if you're Haitian, you'd be quite dark. Yes, there are mulattoes in Haiti, but most of them are quite dark. So the idea that he's Haitian and Asian, well, his phenotype does not suggest that. But at the end of the day, what we know for certain is that he's a mutt and a mongrel. And such persons really have no business in racial conversations.
I don't know what Sneako is, but Sneako, I know a good dentist that can help you get that tooth fixed down in Colombia. Dr. Montoya, I can give you a card on him.
Shout out to Tariq. He has a phenomenal sense of humor. I find that he definitely knows how to crack some jokes. I don't know where he's from. I think he's based in Los Angeles now, but we get it in.
The brother knocked your tooth out and you ran to the police like a bitch.
But I don't know who you are, but yeah, I didn't go to the police.
See, there we go with the lies again. And this is a classic lie. They often try this one on me. Did he say, I don't know who you are? Did Sneako just say to Tariq Nasheed, I don't know who you are? We hear this all the time. And this is an attempt when those persons you're dealing with, they don't have anything to insult you with. They go to the basic of saying you're a nobody, which is like, come on, you know who Tariq Nasheed is. You're lying. And what's worse is that you feel like you're disarmed and you can't strike back in any meaningful way. So you say something that's fairly general, like, I don't know who you are. You could say that to anyone. It's not even a particular insult to Tariq Nasheed. So that's quite silly.
Because the bitch came right on out of you. But
I don't know who you are, but yeah, I didn't go to the police. They questioned me, and I didn't do anything. I didn't go to the police.
It looked like you were filing a report.
No, they came and questioned me, but it sounds funny, like if you're a black nationalist to go and.
You see, Sneako's a dishonest person because he's suggesting that he didn't go to the police, but he in fact made a video that is public on the internet, and he stated that the guy jumped out and attacked him for no reason at all, which was in fact a lie. And so if that's not as good as going to the police, what is? I mean, you put the evidence in public record, which would then probably compel the police to follow up. Shout out to Fuli. He writes, peace to the saints. What are your thoughts on Trump pushing for the demolition of income taxes? This is actually a very American thing. Truth be told, the settlers in this land were coming here for religious freedom, for economic freedom. And the income tax was not supposed to be a permanent fixture in American life. Rather, it was supposed to be something, if I recall correctly, that was instituted, I believe, after a major war such that we could get the economy back going and make sure that the government is funded. And it was supposed to be temporary. But what you'll often learn is that the clever politicians who are very manipulative and dishonest, they'll suggest that something is temporary just to get it in the door. And once they get it in the door, they make you adjust to it. You see, one thing I know, and this is the kind of knowledge you have in the Book of Dark Truths, if one of my mods would drop that in the description, and mind you, the Book of Dark Truths is not a literal book. I remember when I was studying in university, the era of Joseph Stalin and the Gulag, which is like a far off land that's cold in Siberia, snowy and wintry. They put you in a hard labor camp and basically work you until you die. And there were interviews of these Russians who had been basically cast away into this hell on earth. And the reporter said, well, how did you survive? How did you deal with the reality of being in freezing temperatures and having to work endlessly and getting insufficient amounts of food and being away from your family? And the gentleman looks him in the eye and he says, human beings can become accustomed to anything, which is a fact, which is how they got you guys to wear the mask and stand 6 feet away from each other. The human being mostly is like a sheep, and they will accept anything and they will adjust. Most of them. There are very few who really know what's going on and are willing to do something about it. He writes, apparently he plans to put more of it toward tariffs. That'd be clever. And I think what would be more reasonable and logical would be a flat tax on consumption, just merely taxing on what you purchase. And it would also be wise if the government decided to attempt to balance the budget. You see, just at least attempt it. May I acknowledge William supporting the work. I appreciate you. Shout out to the real ones. Carrying on.
But immediately believe and support the police, but that's not what happened.
Oh no, man, you. But didn't you have Jake?
W Black National.
But didn't you have Jake? You had Jake Shields with you. Doesn't he do MMA? He's supposed to whoop all this ass, and he stood there looking.
That was hilarious. Bro said, "Didn't you have like a professional fighter with you?"
Like Whitney Houston in The Bodyguard while you got your ass whooped. Where's
the guy ran away, like he fell down. Nobody knew I got hit. Like, it wasn't pretty obvious. Jake.
Okay, see now, Sneako, you can't lie about that which we've seen with our own eyes. You're basically giving a cover story when we observed as clear as day. The fella, Superman jumped off of the freaking stage, punched you square in the mouth on camera in front of everybody. It was very blatant. He did not run off. And even if he did attempt to run off, he did not look like the guy who's extremely quick and agile, such that the Tinias could not catch up with him. So your story is not adding up. You're a dishonest person. The honest thing would have been to say, look, he caught me in the mouth. I didn't want to fight him for whatever reason, which is I was scared. And the other persons didn't feel like it was their affair. And I learned something new, that maybe these people are not as much my friend, or maybe they expected me to not be a coward and stand up for myself first, perhaps in a fair fight.
Shields didn't see it. If it was under different
Jake saw it. Jake was standing there. I saw the video. Jake stood there with his titties flopping. He was standing there not doing anything. I mean,
Tariq, if you got a big mouth and hands like that, why don't you come down here to Miami? We'll have a celebrity boxing match. I'm sure we can find.
This person's tonation, I don't know who he is, but I could tell he's not very intelligent. You see, those who are bright, there's so many different filters you can use to interpret the world. Just from the tone of this fella's voice, Tariq, if you're such a black nationalist, I got some. His voice sounds like he's unintelligent. And furthermore, he's cutting off. You're not even a part of the conversation. No one knows your name. They don't know your voice. Sit down and be silent. Let these two go at it, and let's resolve this particular argumentative point before you start interjecting.
Find some white nationalists who will want to whoop your ass.
Well, all I can do is just throw a jar of mayonnaise at you and you'll flee like roaches. So I don't know. We can do whatever. We can set it all up.
Let's stop talking this broke talk. Come on down here. Let's find you an opponent and make some money. That way you won't have to go to Colombia to fix your teeth, brokey.
Yeah, okay. The only thing is.
So then you have a goofball who clearly is filled with hatred. I don't know who this individual is, but he's clearly a hateful individual. He started off with the initial points about George Floyd. So he seems like he probably is an anti-black racist, which is fine with me. I think everyone's entitled to their feelings, and undoubtedly that's a feeling thing. I remind you all, I've tried to be racist, and in my travels around the world, I find that stupidity is fairly equally shared among the different racial categories. What really marks a people is their leadership class and how effectively they're, leading the masses. The masses are generally foolish, right? They're generally not very intelligent. It's just the leadership class, and what do they enforce in terms of culture?
You're demeaning yourself,
who am I
man.
talking
Stop the
to? Who am I
nonsense.
talking? I don't even know who I'm talking to. Who am I talking to?
Shout out to Tariq. I don't know who you're talking to either, bro. It's like, who is this nerd?
People who actually matter in this world, bro. Unlike you.
You're a low life degenerate.
If you say so, brother. If you say so.
You're a low life degenerate.
You still wait.
Shout out to bro. He said you're a low life degenerate. And this I find to be quite disgusting. In this sick world where people scarcely understand the English language, you find folks thoughtlessly calling one another brother while insulting each other. It's like, word? Like you're calling Brody brother while insulting him? Please stop it.
Didn't you make a gay movie? Didn't you make a gay movie?
Well, no, that was your granddad.
It's called Buck Breaking, isn't it? Like
Hey, check this out. I'm gonna keep it a bean with you guys. It's like 3 different random voices I've never heard in life trying to attack Tariq Nasheed at this moment. And I'm going to say he's doing quite a good job.
Want to be white supremacist.
So this is a discussion that I heard a little bit about, and there's a suggestion that Jews are not white. And we have so many bits of nonsense that we have to deal with in the modern world. Firstly, those who purport to be Jewish and they claim to be from the Middle East. This is a blatant lie. This is as much true as like believing a black woman who like has on like a wig and claims that this is her natural hair is straight and claims that these blue color contacts are her actual eye color. It's impossible. You see, there are certain phenotypes that come from certain regions of the world for very clear biological, natural reasons. So, for example, and I know a lot of Jews personally. I went to university with a lot of Jews. Both Berkeley and Johns Hopkins had very significant amounts of Jewish people. And every single Jew that I know personally, whom I know to be a Jew, they all have blue eyes. This is a European phenotype. It tends to come from more northern Europe, the lighter eyes, the paler skin. And I even know people who say that they're Jewish and they're blonde. The fact of the matter is, to be Jewish is to be white. Within those 3 primary racial categories, Caucasoid, Negroid, Mongoloid, Caucasoid meaning white or European, that's what the Jews actually are. They are white Europeans. Now, the real $1 million question among others with the Jews is like, okay, well, if you're really from Israel, why were you not already there in large numbers? Well, that's because you are a religious group, which is to say you selected into an ideology or a belief system, a religion or a cult, and you guys are dispersed throughout Europe because you guys are in fact Europeans. And the reason you're not in Israel in large numbers is because that's not where you're from. You see, there's really no people who find that the majority of their population is not in their land of origin, right? You find a lot of Chinese people throughout the planet Earth. You find Chinese people in Kenya and Ethiopia and Thailand and the United States and Mexico and Jamaica, but you'll never find more Chinese people outside of China. They're always mostly in their land of origin, which makes perfect sense. How is it that the Jews, big air quotes, are the only people who have an opposite story, right? There are more Jews outside of Israel than are in Israel, except after they had the colonial powers of Britain, United States, and France go in there and create a colonial settler state. So this is a lie. And also the idea that Jews are not white is also a lie. Jews certainly can be white supremacists as they are white. And even if they were not white, they could still be white supremacists, but undoubtedly they fit into the grouping of whites. Now, within all things, there is variety. I doubt anyone on this call has read The Descent of Man and Origin of Species or many of the other bricks in anthropology or hard science with relation to race. But the fact of the matter is that there are varieties of man, just as there are breeds of dog, which is to say that within Black or African or Negroid, you have the Habesha, who have specific feature set. You have people from Zambia who have a unique feature set. You have Blacks like the Bushmen. You have certain Blacks that have epicantic eye fold. You have Blacks that have yellowish complexions. You have Blacks in South Sudan who have a very dark black complexion. They're also quite tall. You have Blacks in Southern Africa that are quite short. So within the African or Negroid category, you have varieties, just as within the Caucasoid variety or the Caucasoid collective, you have varieties. For example, those in the United Kingdom, those are butt ugly white people. The white people in Scandinavia and in Poland and in Romania, those are reasonably attractive white people. So there's variety in the phenotypes and the way people look based on their genetics, even within the category of white, there's variety.
You're a wannabe all across the board. You don't know what you want to be.
Okay, if you say so. My last name ends in Berg, but whatever you say.
Sure. You're hanging around with white nationalists. They're calling your names behind your back.
I don't know any white nationalists. I have none. See, this is all you do.
Hold on.
Accusations. You're no different than the
You guys sit around here whining about black people, thinking that you're going to get brownie.
Nobody was talking about black people.
No one was talking about black people, bro.
That's all you do.
Hold on. The speakers, wait a second.
You guys are the biggest.
It does appear that there is not quite a fair balance in terms of positions represented. It seems as though Tariq is on one side and the rest of the conversation is on the opposite side. Generally, if you would like to have a proper discussion, you'd want to balance the number of participants on each side, or you would at least balance the airtime. So because Tariq is the only person on his argumentative side, then his position should get as much time as the other position, even though there are numerous persons representing the opposing view. I highly doubt that's going to happen just due to human nature and the inclination to let everyone talk. But what would be proper is if they were balanced in terms of representation.
Wannabes on the planet.
Wannabe what?
You'll never be white.
The panel here is a black man, another black man. I'm black. We got a Jew.
Wait, did Sneako say I'm black? I think I need my fade. What do you mean I'm black? Like, you don't get to just like volunteer yourself into I'm black. Please stop, my boy.
How many are saying that we're white supremacists? Does everything have to be about you? Nobody started talking about black cock till you came in. We were talking about
you do it all the time.
He's the victim.
What is on your mind, Tariq? The fuck are you thinking about?
Calm down. You're gonna get your trailer park musty. Calm down, sir. Calm down,
bro. Leave it to a black guy to come in and talk about race. That's all you talk about. Literally, you have no other talking points.
Who is that, Sneako?
Literally came in here.
This person who has used the word literally in the space of 8 words is obviously not very intelligent. And he states, quote, leave it to a black guy, end quote, to talk about race, which is in fact a racist statement because you're suggesting that all black guys are the same. So that would be essentially racist. What he could have said is leave it to Tariq Nasheed to talk about race, and then that would have been, a sensible accusation. But he's already went into racism, which is fine. Again, I don't have an issue with racism, but the challenge is that most of these persons who are racist, A, are mongrels, and then B, themselves are not aware that they're racist or really the origins of why they are racist.
Yeah, no, it's me. It's
who
me.
Is me?
I don't know who I am.
Bro said it's me, and literally nobody knows who he is. That's awesome.
It's right.
A Cuban man, retard. A Cuban, like you think it's a white nationalist.
You made a conversation 100% about race. Leave it to the black man to come in and to talk about race
because that's what
all you talk about.
You
have no other idea.
That's what you
have no other
because you're very insecure as a
for any solution.
There's no solution. White supremacist.
There's zero solutions. It's all.
So yeah, this fella's not very intelligent, and I think he believes himself to be intelligent. Unfortunately, this guy who just said it's me, just a real dimwit, and he's not able to attack Tariq directly, so he's attacking Tariq's race, which he is in fact a racist. I don't think I think racists should be able to speak their mind. I just don't happen to think that these folks are very intelligent. There have been historically some, clever racists, But the ones that we're finding today really are very poor representations of what we've seen historically. Historically, the white racists, they'll try to, involve pseudoscience in their explanations. They used to say that the head shape is an indication of intelligence, and the Africans have the smallest heads and the Asians have the largest heads. Hence, the Africans must be the dumbest and the Asians must be the smartest, only to find out that it turns out that the Bushmen had quite large heads, especially proportionally. And then they say, okay, this theory must be wrong since the blacks have large heads. You see, but the point is, a lot of this stuff doesn't make sense, especially when you say that the Asians must be so intelligent. Well, then how did China end up getting, colonized essentially by Britain, which is why Hong Kong was a British protectorate? The fact of the matter is that every people have their time in the sun. The black civilization was first because it was the oldest. Part of that time was in prehistory and also history that was destroyed largely by European invading forces, which is fine. And the historiography does recount African civilizations. And most of this people want to deny or just not acknowledge.
Complaining.
Your whole all of your platforms is based.
Name one solution, Tariq. Name one solution to your problems.
Reparations.
Name one solution. Name one solution.
And this nobody fella who keeps repeating himself. Now, that's a good point. I like that question, which is name one solution. This is what I'm about, which is being a builder. As a man, you should be a builder. You should be a producer. You should not be a beggar. You should not only be a consumer. That's a meaningful question. What is the solution? And often we find that these internet personalities, they hyper focus on the problem, and you guys eat it up and you tune in for the debates and the arguments. Like, for example, I just saw one person in the chat writes, Marquette versus Princella, round 2. And just, these are the kind of things that make me not want to talk to the public, because I know that I'm misunderstood. You think I'm here to entertain you. You're a dimwit sitting at home. I'm an intellectual. I'm not here to entertain you. The only reason I do things like that is to bring intelligent people to the channel through entertainment so that they can get something more valuable. But what does it look like for me to argue with a woman who got kicked out of the army for scamming, a woman who has no university degrees, no professional accolades? You want me to entertain you. I'm not here to entertain you. And you don't even support the work. So it's like, sit silently and enjoy your freeloading, okay? But have some respect and some decency and some understanding.
Yeah.
Name one
You're
solution.
repeating things like
name
bro,
one
Hotep
solution.
took this guy apart.
Tariq, name one solution, Tariq. Instead of complaining, how about as a man, you come up with a solution?
Well, you're very emotional.
Are you a female who complains all day, or are you a man who comes up with a
solution? I need to get you some yeast infection training. You're being a bitch right now. Calm down.
No, you're a black man who came on talking about race.
You're whining like a hoe.
That's what you did, because that's what you always do.
Like a hoe.
You probably do this in every space. You come on and talk about race. White nationalist this, black person that, Jew this. Nobody's talking about race until you came up here, because it's...
Now, truthfully, I assumed that the entire conversation was going to be about race, for that is Tariq Nasheed's bread and butter. I didn't know if they were talking about something different before he showed up. Perhaps someone can inform me, but I thought that that was going to be the core topic. And there's nothing necessarily wrong about discussing race. There are certain realities of particular ethnic groups that need to be dealt with. For example, I often mention the South Africans. I'd love to see them have more ambition. They have the highest unemployment rate in the world. When I was there offering jobs, people act like they didn't need them. You heard me? There are other cultures I've mentioned, like in Jordan. I'd love to see some reform in Jordanian culture, more honesty, more real Islam. So all of the cultures could use some reforming. For example, the West, or let's talk about the United States, they're in moral decay. I think that they could use some help there. And so, there's nothing wrong with discussing race or ethnicity, but there is a lot wrong with wasting time just attacking and being hateful.
Typical black behavior. Typical nigger behavior. That's exactly what you did. There we go.
Thought you were that?
Okay, I think he threw in his hard R right there. Let me go ahead and replay that.
Black person that, Jew this. Nobody was talking about race until you came up here, because it's typical black behavior. Typical nigger behavior. That's exactly
Okay, so there he is. He threw in his N-word with the hard R. And, a lot of these folks are very, very deeply hateful, like psychotically so. And it amazes me, and it's actually quite comical that they're able to get themselves, drummed up into such frenzies of anger and hatred, like really over nothing. It's like, if you don't like black folks, they're only 12% of the U.S. population. There's a multitude of places you can move to. You don't have to see any of them. Shout out to the Ballers. Polo reacts, right? Right. I learned the word extemporaneously from one of your rants. I've been waiting for the right time to show it off. I owe you for that. Jokes aside, I appreciate your worldview. Thank you very much. And it's always nice when you can actually get some edification while being entertained. That is the rare offering that I provide on YouTube, and only the intelligent among us can actually see it. Others, they just get to laugh at, debates with me and Princella, thinking like that's what I'm really here for.
That you thought you were that?
By the way, guess what? My grandmother's a nigger. My mother's a nigger. And guess what? I'm 25% nigger.
Right. And
this person is completely psychotic. Like, this person is completely psychotic. It's really sad, honestly. Shout out to Walter. He writes, been waiting for this reaction as Tariq argued better, but the black man is never wrong. Bro is over here wild. And shout out to Travis. He writes, tuition roast away. And also acknowledge Travis came right back with the, okay, that was the old one. So he came in twice. That was for the last stream and this stream.
You're a wannabe. You're a wannabe.
So how about this, real quick? How about this? How about you talk about something other than race and come up with solutions?
This guy's a broken record. Everyone said this guy's a white person. You got black people in this room. You got Jews in this room. He calls everyone a white supremacist. Are you fucking blind or stupid, sir?
So you know that these persons are in denial because white supremacy is a behavior. It is an ideology. It is not a race itself, you see. So anyone could be a white supremacist. So the fact that they're pretending as though white supremacy requires that you be white, it is them choosing to be blind and choosing to be dishonest.
Victim complex, guys like Tariq. There's not one white person in this panel.
N-word.
I'm actually white.
Yeah, you a bunch of suspect wanna be
white.
So
you're gonna come up here and call everybody names and then you get offended over
I'm not offended.
Yeah, I don't think he is offended. I don't think he said that he's offended. Shout out to Colonel Sanders writes, I must support the call. Shout out to the Colonel here.
Not eating with that, sorry.
No, you have
not
no important
anybody.
Points to make.
You're a
you have
wannabe.
Zero solution. You have
you're
zero
not
concept.
Offended.
All you do is
think
nobody's trying to offend anybody.
You think you're offending black people by using the N-word. That's not offensive. We know that you're racist.
I didn't try to offend you.
Tariq, no one called you the N-word. The only way we're going to call you N-word if we had the word bitch ass in front of it.
So I think that Tariq rightly identified it, that the fellow was trying to, as the women say, gaslight. He was trying to incite Tariq's emotions by bringing in the N-word with the hard R. And really all he did was achieve, him positioning himself as a person who's, a bit gruff and vulgar, but he didn't achieve much else.
The Anglos, and you're not.
No,
listen,
no, just because you say it,
that
don't make
is
it true.
You want to be Anglo.
You say something, you don't substantiate it. All you do is hope that people believe you. When you speak, you just.
What I would like to hear is for someone who's perhaps hosting the conversation to pause it and say, okay, guys, aside from the bickering, let's at least establish a subject or a topic of debate, and then we can go into that subject and topic of debate. And if you guys would like to attack one another personally, at least in the midst of establishing arguments, we can do that. I think that would be reasonable and perhaps more interesting. I'm hoping that the conversation does make some progress.
This is what happened.
All right.
I think it's actually quite ironic, and this just shows the high levels of blindness. Like, these people are sick and blind with hatred. Just imagine you're accusing him of bringing in race, and then all you do is use racial insults, right? So, clearly you two are as obsessed with race, because if you weren't obsessed with race, you would insult Tariq based on him being an individual, but rather you attempt to insult the entire racial category that he belongs to, thereby showing that perhaps his focus on race might be justified because the only insult you can think to make is a racist or racial insult, which shows that that's the primary lens through which you view Tariq Nasheed. May I also acknowledge Mr. One Hitter Quitter writes, appreciate the content. I appreciate you. Shout out to the real ones.
And you want to be white, and you'll never be.
It doesn't make sense.
You
and this is always what you do. You want to speak in an intellectual way, but you say nothing that's
like a biatch. Right. Is that Myron? Is that Myron?
Yeah, it is. It is, and it's interesting.
Myron, hold on. Before you start, I gotta say,
wow.
I know we've had our words. We've had our words, and we've had our differences. All right. And I'm willing to go on your show. I know you wanted me to go on your show at one point, and we can put our differences aside and I offer my extension to prayer, and I pray now. All right.
What a fucking line.
You know what's interesting, Tariq? Like, this is what I found very interesting. I kind of wanted to see what you were coming to talk about.
Yo. All right, listen. I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. Caught me slipping with that. I thought he was about to say I thought he was about to say something sincere. You know, I thought he was about to build a bridge. Bro is sick for that.
Right. And
all right, go ahead, Myron. Go ahead, Myron. All right, let's hear from.
I was legitimately.
Let's hear from.
Listen, Tariq and I don't agree on reparations in as much as I don't believe it's sensible to ask your enemy for something, for an accommodation. I don't think it's sensible for a grown man to ask another grown man for something for free or a favor. But in terms of his humor, it's A1. And also the way he engages and views enemies is also very much so in line with the Book of Dark Truths. So Tariq definitely knows some things.
Let's hear from Sudanese Myron. Go ahead.
Can I talk now?
Go ahead, Myron.
We call my boy Sudanese Myron. And Sudan is a fascinating place in as much as you have a lot of racial variation. Now, I don't know if Myron is full Sudanese, both mother and father, but undoubtedly they're the Sudanese who are more so of the caramel skin. They have the larger beak-like nose. And then you have the Sudanese that are of the blue-black complexion. They have much flatter, smaller noses, very tall. And this is all within a country called Sudan. And we have to understand that this results from often colonial borders that were drawn up by the invading Europeans, who were basically carving out land for their empires. And as a result, they grouped together significant numbers of tribes, peoples, and ethnicities, and even, groupings of DNA that were different. And that's why you have people who could identify under the name Sudanese, but they're clearly of two different types of racial stock. They have different languages, different religions. And that's how that happens. And we can't suggest that has not happened in other parts of the world. We see that the Europeans are often behind the carving up of, peoples. Even in Europe, you used to have the DDR, which is East Germany and West Germany. Today we have one Germany, but it used to be split in two. We also saw that they did this to the Koreans. You have North and South Korea, when in reality, those are one people in as much as, language goes and genetics goes. But now we're seeing differences in the Korean spoken in North Korea and South Korea because the North Koreans make an effort to keep everything truly, authentically Korean, whereas the South Koreans, being dominated by the United States, fully supplied militarily and also economically, they have a lot of introduction of Western, or shall we say, English language into their Korean. For example, words like coffee in Korean, it's kapi. And it's basically just like saying the English word with a Korean accent. So there you have it. Whereas in North Korea, they have a word that is wholly disconnected from the English language. And those are important things to understand. A lot of ethnicities and peoples have lost themselves. So when Tariq talks about white supremacy does not mean that you're a white person thinking that you're superior. White supremacy means that you could be any person thinking that what is white and what is chiefly European is superior. And that's an important understanding. Shout out to the ballers. Shout out to Bobby Green. I think this might be the gentleman who does MMA, might have a fight coming up in the UK. Shout out to him. We always want to support our own. If not, shout out to Bobby Green right here for coming in as a baller. Shout out to Joe Lacudo supporting the work, as well as William writes tuition, peace of the saints. Shout out to Fila Speaks. May I also acknowledge if everyone would confirm that we are back in real time, I'd appreciate that. Give you guys a moment to confirm that. Fantastic. Carrying on.
Myron.
Yeah, so I was intrigued to see what you were going to come in and talk about. I was actually legitimately open ears, like, okay, I wonder what he's going to talk about. And I find it very interesting that we were not talking about an iota of race, whether it was black, white, Jewish, anything.
All of
no
your
one
platforms are about
hold on.
anti-black.
Okay,
all of
okay,
your
look, let me
okay?
finish my point. Let me finish my point.
Fair enough. Let him
Now,
finish.
we were not talking about race whatsoever, and I find it interesting. The first words out your mouth are white supremacy as soon as you come in here.
Yeah, you're a wannabe, right?
And
hey, and somebody let me know where Tariq is from. He might be from SoCal, like your boy, because one thing that you can count on about brothers from SoCal is if we don't have any respect for you, there's about to be a grand total of 0% of pretend. Like, we're not about to pretend we have respect at all. You about to know off rip, like, yeah, bro does not like me. He is not rocking with me. And this is pretty much what we're getting from Tariq right now.
Again, Tariq, I got a legitimately serious question for you. If you
Go
didn't
ahead
talk
and ask
about
that
race,
question.
if you didn't talk about race, what would you talk about?
Sir,
sucking dick.
Like, what would you legitimately talk about, bro? What would you talk about if you didn't talk about race all day?
And see, whoever the host is, like whoever that weirdo is that's coming in with the homoerotic comments, I wish they would address that person because it really degrades the quality of the show. Right now, we have two speakers. We have Myron Gaines, we have Tariq Nasheed. Let these two individuals go back and forth so we can have some semblance of a proper discussion that we can track rather than having the foolish interruptions.
Sir, I talk about a whole bunch of stuff without talking about race, but I talk about racism because it's the most important thing that you white supremacists want to be.
What is it? What is it that you talk about without that's not about race?
I started my career with relationship books, and they were all bestsellers, sir. I can talk about
you don't
so
talk
many
about
other
any more
things.
interesting enough.
But race is a very serious problem, especially anti-black racism. So I discussed something that's very important. Yes, anti-black racism is a very big problem.
That's why you got platforms.
Now, I think this is an interesting concept. Now, as you guys know, I don't talk much about race at all, and especially in the way that Tariq Nasheed talks about it. But one thing we have to acknowledge that is, at some level sensible, even if Tariq Nasheed does talk a lot about race, we see that no doubt, like he's already been called an NIGGER probably about 3 or 4 times by that unknown guy within like the first 5 minutes of the show. And so if anti-black racism was not a thing, perhaps we wouldn't have heard that anti-black racial slur. So in as much as that's the case, that's a legitimate statement that he's making.
That's
the only reason you guys got
bring it back to race.
Because you have anti-black platforms.
Besides race, and you bring it back to race.
Because you're anti-black platforms. That's all you do is discuss.
No, I'm not anti-black.
See, I think that's a stretch right there. He said, I'm presuming he's referring to Fresh and Fit, and he is called Fresh and Fit an anti-black platform. I think that's at least in my opinion, that seems to be a bit of a stretch. I don't think that most of their shows are about race. I don't think that their platform is an anti-black platform. It seems extreme.
I'm not anti-black. I'm anti-retard. I'm anti-retard. And you're behaving like one.
Sir, please.
I'm asking, what do you talk about besides race?
What do you do besides flee your homeland?
Okay, good one. I'm asking you a legitimate question.
And that's a legitimate question. Race? That's a projection.
See, the challenge is I don't know if Myron is a host in this conversation, but when you have a conversation wherein everyone's involved emotionally and you don't have anyone moderating the conversation, then there's no objective party to hold anyone down to being reasonable. So we're not about to hear someone say, okay, Tariq, answer his question, or Myron, answer his question, or Guy, stay on topic because the topic is yet to be identified. So that's the challenge with this right now. It's like they're just kind of both going, it seems as though Myron's trying to ask a legitimate question, which no doubt is aimed at destabilizing Tariq's position. So he's asking a question which is not immediately a direct attack. And then Tariq is responding with a counter question, which is undoubtedly a direct attack at Myron.
Your platforms are based on anti-black racism, Myron.
No, we talk about a bunch of things. Race is just one of the things we talk about.
It always goes back to anti-black racism.
All you talk about is race.
And then you have a bunch of women on there who are black and Caribbean, and you scream and bark on them like a coward.
Hispanic,
why don't you do that shit to a dude, man? Why don't you bark on a dude like that?
White, Asian,
you know what I'm saying?
Come down.
See, one of the things I don't like about what Tariq is suggesting is that there's no doubt that these women are experiencing aggressions, perhaps from Myron or the other male guests, but rightfully so. These are low quality females, be them black, white, or otherwise, and they're getting their due, and they're also volunteering to subject themselves to this experience. And so I think that Tariq is wrongly suggesting that the women on Fresh and Fit are representatives of the black woman. Now, the black woman is down bad, but she ain't down that bad, okay? She's not down that bad to where Fresh and Fit floozies are legit representations of black women. So I don't like that characterization. I don't think that's fair or accurate.
Miami. Do all that shit to do.
White, Asian, Hispanic. We've had them with all
you
kinds
understand?
of races. Not
you
just
know,
black.
you don't do it to dudes because you'll get that Sneako energy. You saw what happened to Sneako. You saw what happened to Sneako when y'all run up on a dude with that shit.
I refute what you say, and then you immediately come in
because you bark on women, you bark on black women all the time because you're a coward. You're a coward and a wannabe. Okay.
So what's your argument now?
That's because the argument is you're a coward and a wannabe. All right.
Okay. Yep.
You're a wannabe white supremacist and you're a coward.
You don't put your foot down with women. What you don't talk sternly with women.
And all you guys have platforms built on anti-black racism.
Like, you don't talk sternly to women at all.
You talk that shit online.
See, I think here's what the trick is with this conversation, and this is why, I think I offer a unique value. If I'm talking to you about things that are, for goofballs, I'll be honest with you and say, like, look, this is for you goofies. So that we can bring more people into the ism. I'm talking about something that's largely meaningless, and I'm joking, and I'm playing the jester to bring you guys into some real knowledge. But right now, it's like they're all pretending as though they're trying to have a real conversation when there is no attempt at a real conversation. There's no topic has been established. There's no, parameters for the debate. This is just drama. You're basically watching or engaging in the audio form of Jerry Springer. People who are angry at each other, insulting each other, and there's no end. And what you're really watching for is to see who can get the best of the other person. And factually, civilized people don't really go to the gladiator fights. Civilized people don't want to go to the Roman Colosseum and watch a lion tear apart a human. Like, it's not what civilized people do. But lower class people, they want to go and watch a bear and a tiger, claw at each other and just see what happens because they're simple minded. And so I think this conversation so far is a bit pathetic, but we'll carry on. We're here for it.
You don't talk sternly to women.
That shit online, and
you let women talk to you.
Tariq, thank you for coming in here and showing how low IQ the reparations movement is. Thank you for coming in here and fucking exposing your dumbass.
So again, people are being unreasonable on both sides. Someone just said that the reparations movement is low IQ. I don't think the movement is low IQ. You have some folks on that side of things that are reasonably intelligent. Their conclusion is foolish. It's a pipe dream. And Tariq Nasheed, no doubt, is quite bright. So bringing up low IQ is really just silliness. Only a person who is low IQ would make such a suggestion. No, Tariq's intelligent. Though you might not agree with the reparations side, those people are not dumb. They're emotional, no doubt. They're unrealistic, but they're not dumb.
Right, you're a bunch of geniuses.
No, you're definitely.
You're showing us the high IQ. All right.
You're definitely an elite.
Tariq. No, guys, show.
We can look
at a legitimate question, and you guys see how he just immediately deflected.
We can look at your high.
Just deflected everything.
This is high IQ conversation from you guys, really?
Bro, racism is not high IQ. Stop.
You guys are talking like you're Rhodes Scholars. You're a bunch of YouTube flunkies.
Bro, you're talking like
you're not a Rhodes Scholar. You're a bunch of YouTube flunkies. You do not. All right?
You do not.
Your only platform is you can only come up by spewing anti-black racism. You're not intellectuals at all. Let's stop it. All right.
You want to hear why anti-black racism exists is because of you. You're the problem.
That was crazy. Did Sneako just say the reason anti-black racism exists is because of Tariq Nasheed? Sneako is a legitimate idiot. He's a legitimate low intelligence, low self-esteem idiot. And Sneako is one of these characters that it saddens me that he is at any level public. He's a public figure at any level because, he sees one guy who becomes a Muslim, Sneako becomes a Muslim. One guy smoking cigars, wearing sunglasses indoors. Now Sneako's wearing the same sunglasses, smoking cigars indoors. He's a copycat. He has no real sense of self. He has no personality. He lacks guidance. So why he would think that he has it in him to debate other men who have a level of certainty on who they are as a man. I mean, this guy is pathetic.
You're a bunch of Anglo.
You're the reason that black people are held back in America because you hold on to victim mentality without anything else.
You failed, and all of you failed in your homelands. All of you, and you want to be white supremacists, and that's the only platforming you can do is spewing.
I think this piece about all of you failed in your homelands is actually quite comical.
Dude, there's like FBA,
and then you get knocked in your damn teeth. You got knocked in your teeth for doing that shit in person.
Dude, this guy talks like from the coast of California because he is. It's exactly how people from the coast of California talk because they don't have other people calling them out for the dumb shit they say. And this guy's doing exactly that. I'm from the coast of California, so
I don't know who this guy is. I wish these individuals would have a practice of announcing their name before they speak, or perhaps their background credentials or relevance. You know, like, why are you relevant? Why should we be listening to you?
I know exactly how these fucking people are.
And you smell like a wet dog. Now shut up. Now you all other guys are a bunch of
Yo, man, your insults are fucking trash, bro. You're not even entertaining. All you do is talk shit.
Man, this fella who keeps interjecting is very vulgar. He's just like, every word is a curse word from this guy.
That's why you are struggling with your birth race and your
bro, you say, you're the bro.
Yo, I got 2 kids. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
We don't care. We don't act like victims. Who cares? Bro, it doesn't matter. You're the only person here acting a victim. It doesn't matter.
You're a bunch of whiny wannabe white supremacists.
For your whole community, bro. You're speaking for your whole community when probably half your community.
What the shit is that? What kind of weird? You guys are weirdos. What kind of stuff is that? The wannabe white supremacist community going around.
Wait, but who are you? Who are you?
Do you understand how stupid you are? Where's your father? Do you even know your father's name? Yeah, you don't know your father's name. That's why you fucking are with the piece of garbage that you are right now.
These old 4chan tropes
don't work. It's some dry cereal going up. Your cereal.
What's your daddy's name?
Wow. Anyway, shout out to Rodney. He writes, peace of saints. Tariq is originally from Detroit. That's a very black city right there. Where I'm from, he moved to Bama and made Cali his home. Okay, that's what's up. Yeah, Detroit's a very black city historically, and I think a lot of that had to do with being able to earn a good wage in the automotive industry, which, of course, that ended when American government started to create policy that allowed our markets to be invaded by low-cost, well-made foreign cars that were, giants today. Toyota, etc. Shout out to Cameron. He writes, I appreciate the racial history that you are giving us on this live. Absolutely.
Name for $100, Tariq. What's your daddy's name for $200, Tariq? Exactly, you fucking beta bitch.
So, guys, he clearly came in here to talk to me. So
the guy was just talking, he has so much anger, hatred, and vitriol in what he's saying. If anyone is an anti-black racist, like for sure, it's this guy and the other guy who's using the N-word with the hard R, because there's just so much anger. It's not necessary to be this mad on a phone call. You heard me? Like, you was on a phone call, bro. Chill, man.
Tariq.
All right. So, any more corny jokes?
He only came in here to talk to me.
You want to be white supremacist? So not witty.
Tariq, let's go ahead and have a discussion. Okay. I asked you a very simple question.
Right.
I didn't resort.
Myron, I answered.
No,
sir.
Okay.
Myron,
I didn't resort to insulting you or doing ad hominems. I asked a legitimate question.
And I answered.
If you didn't, okay, and you said you wrote books about relationships.
Right.
So
Myron,
why do you not do that anymore? Why do you only talk about race now?
That's not all I talk about, Myron. I have a hot movie out right now about hip hop. I talk about a lot of stuff, sir. I just don't talk about race, but I'm going to talk about you anti-black racists who are always spewing anti-black racism. Yes, I will check you on that.
No. I spew anti-stupidity. That's
no. You are an anti-black racist.
It just so happens that a lot of black people are stupid.
Oh,
that's what I spew.
If we're so damn stupid, you're the one who fled from your damn homeland.
No. I said a lot of them are stupid. It could be white, black, Hispanic. It doesn't matter.
Stupidity. We're stupid enough to not have to flee.
All people are stupid.
See, it sounds like Myron's cleaning that up now, but it sounded pretty grimy off rip, though. It sounded real grimy.
It's stupid enough. You can't say that.
See how you're going to an ad hominem that has nothing to do with the debate? It has nothing to do with the debate.
Yes, it does. Because you're not qualified to say anybody's stupid, and you fled from a failed homeland.
Okay, so
you're not qualified.
So if someone's an immigrant, they're not qualified to comment on.
No, you're not. If you come from a homeland where everybody's over there starving, you can't say none of us are stupid. You're not.
You know what? That's actually a very meaningful point. And I'm going to elaborate on that so that it's understood. What Tariq is suggesting is that if you're speaking down on the foundational Black Americans, suggesting that they're not very intelligent, then if we were to use your people as a comparison base, which in Myron's case would be the Sudanese, then we would say, okay, well, if the Black American is stupid, well, are you suggesting that your people are any better? And if you're going to be critical of someone, perhaps start with home, right? You know, clean up your house before you tell someone else to clean up their house. And with regards to the Sudanese, they've been in protracted civil war, which is to say war against one another for some time. And in fact, we've even had a lot of campaigns like Save Darfur as far back as when I was in university taking an undergraduate degree. And so if you have a country of Sudanese who are in war against themselves, and you have poverty, rampant starvation, and strife prevalent, then certainly those people would have to be less developed, less civilized, less intelligent than the Black Americans you're referring to, probably. And so if you want to focus your criticism on a people, you'd probably be wise to focus your criticism on your own people first and figure out how they can be smart enough or not stupid and, you know, heal their own issues. So I think that's a very meaningful point that Tariq is making, except that he just hasn't articulated it as clearly as I have. And I think because a lot of these folks are very much so at each other's throat, neither side can get off a reasonable argument. Often people suggest that I go in and debate various parties, and frankly, I'd rather build with them. I'm a builder. I'd rather engage conversation, acknowledge some reasonable points, and then ask, well, what can we do to move things forward for humankind? Winning a debate is of little consequence to someone like me. I've won multitudes of debate, never got richer, never added to my good deeds. If there is a judgment day, I don't think that, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to weigh up your debates won, but I think they would weigh up how many orphans you've fed, how many people you've saved from, you know, an AK bullet. And so I think that's more meaningful. So that was a good argument on Tariq's side. And I think that, yeah, let's go.
Okay. So hold on. So let me just get this straight. Are you telling me that if you're an immigrant, you cannot comment
from the Sudan?
Situations?
Yeah, if you're from the Sudan, you can't say shit about a foundational Black American. Nothing
interesting
at all.
Interesting.
Nothing.
You
can't say nothing about us.
Let's use your logic.
Not one word.
Let's use your logic.
A failed homeland where people are starving. You can't say shit about it.
Let's use your logic.
That's how that works.
Let me ask you a question.
Uh-huh.
Do you have to be a mathematician to say 1 + 1 is 2?
No, sir. No.
Okay, I mean, on a logical basis, Myron has a point, which is to say the truth is the truth, no matter whose mouth it comes from. Yeah, that's factual. However, if you're going to focus on being critical of a people, yeah, it might be wise to be critical of your own people first and foremost. But yeah, they both have good points here. I totally agree with both of them right now. And I don't think that they have to be at odds. Shout out to Mr. Morency, comes in via Venmo. He writes, Joe Rogan said MMA fighters can beat up any boxer in a street fight. Thoughts? No, I don't think that's the case. He writes, also, Bobby Green was on Male Podcast once and said he could RAPE any man in the room if he wanted to. Thoughts? Well, he's going to have to knock them out cold first, because I have a feeling they're going to fight. I have a feeling they're going to fight for their butthole in many cases. Carrying on.
That's no. That's a non sequitur. It has nothing to do with anything. You come from a failed homeland where people are over there starving, and you haven't figured out how to stop the people from starving. So you can't come over here and talk about it.
Here we go. So thank you to the white supremacists in America. You're eating, Tariq.
How so, sir?
Because the white people started this country. The white supremacists started this country. Go back. Exactly.
Let me take this, because
they didn't. They failed when they tried to do it on their own. They didn't start a damn thing. It was foundational Black Americans. Go ahead, sir.
I think it's getting a bit crazy right now. So number one, you have the fellow who is perhaps a white supremacist, certainly an anti-Black racist, and probably both of them. I think those are reasonable charges. He's suggesting that Tariq's ability to eat today is a result of the white supremacists. And that's not quite correct. Undoubtedly, the Blacks were eating just fine in the African continent before they were forcibly brought here. So that argument doesn't hold water. Then secondly, Tariq suggests that the white supremacists did not start this country, referring to the United States government. And That's just not a fact. You know, white supremacists did start the United States government. That's all there is to that.
Tariq, let me again. So you're telling me if someone's an immigrant from Sudan or wherever they're from, they can't comment on social issues?
Not over here. No, you're not at liberty to do that because your social issues are in shambles. You're not at liberty.
Cool.
Why would we listen to you? Why would we listen to you?
Okay.
If you come from a country of complete
now let me
failure,
ask you another question.
Why would we listen to you?
So
you're not at liberty.
So only other. Let me get this straight then. So only other FBAs, according to your logic, can comment on FBA issues. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely? Only foundational Black Americans can talk about our issues. We don't concern ourselves with what's going on with you. You come from a failed culture. You're not at liberty.
Shout out to bro. He going in. Oh my goodness. Shout out to Mitchell. He writes, "Peace to the saints. Appreciate you." Oh my goodness. Shout out to the real ones who are confirmed. You dig?
Liberty to give us any advice on anything, sir.
Would you call it a successful
fix your homeland?
You need to
fix your homeland. You need to fix what's going on over there.
Again.
You know, one thing that's curious is that Myron really is not engaging that argument, meaning he's not being reflective on what Tariq is saying. And I think that's often a result of just so many people in the conversation. It moves the conversation fast, point to point, instead of digging in with depth. I think that it would be interesting to hear Myron's reflections on the Sudan, on how much he identifies as Sudanese and what that means to him. Is he, helping out over there? I think those would be interesting conversations to have. So that was, missing, and that's unfortunate. With regards to what Tariq is saying, suggesting that only foundational Black Americans should speak up on the situation of foundational Black Americans. Okay, fine. But what we also have to know as foundational Black Americans is that there's if we're going to be more insular, there's some hard things that need to be done. Like, for example, getting Black women in line. If we establish a code of morality, like say what I've established, which is the GSIC, which is the Global Standards in Civilization, and we need to enforce them, that would require that, similar to the Jews or the Italian mafia within our neighborhoods, if we say, hey, love, you cannot wear, see-through linen pants that show your behind and your thong. You can't wear leggings that show your thong while you're walking around. And if we see a woman and we walk up to that female and tell her she can't do that, and then we physically force her back into her house and make her change, no one can snitch. That has to be the land of the law in that locality. And if someone does snitch to the government, then that person and their family needs to be penalized. And that's the most important thing, is the enforcement piece.
Hold on. Culture?
Everybody, guys, you came in here.
You need to fix your homeland.
Your ancestors got taken into slavery and taken to another country. Do you consider that a successful culture? Because you're saying Sudan is not successful.
This person's actually getting off topic. He thinks that it's connected, but it's actually a red herring. It's quite tangential. So now he's going through history. We're actually talking in the present time. So it's inconsequential. This is a person who maybe thought that they were putting together a clever argument, but it's a specious argument. Shout out to Mitchell with the baller alert, came right back with the 50 beans.
Right. So would you consider where your ancestors were originally taken from as successful?
Half of our ancestors were already here. Let's get that straight. We're foundational Black Americans, sir. There were Black people here. There were Black people brought over here. So we had an ethnogenesis, and we never fled from the country we built, sir.
Answer the question, of course, again.
I did answer the question, sir. If you're not smart enough with them stingy Irish genes of yours, that's your problem.
Irish.
Sir.
Yeah, my name is Amir, bro. I'm definitely Irish, dude.
Okay.
So let me ask you this question, Tariq. By your logic, right? Because you're saying only foundational Black Americans can criticize other foundational Black Americans. So if that's the case, why?
So one thing I would ask right now to Myron is, why are you concerned with criticizing foundational Black Americans? Like, why is that a major thing on your to-do list? I'm not saying you can't do it, but like, why is that important on your to-do list? And I think when we get into conversations like that, then perhaps we can, gain some ground. It's one thing if you're like, hey, I have a criticism of this people, and I'm also doing the work and helping. I'm not just a mouthpiece of negativity. Like, for example, you'll hear me often be critical of Muslims. I'll be critical of persons in the Middle East. And if you check, or you can't check, hopefully, but, when I get closer to the evening of my life, you'll be able to see what I've invested my time, effort, and capital into, and you'll say, oh, well, he criticized this and he talked about this because he felt really strongly about this. He knew this well. He's been on the ground with these issues. He's funded these things. So I get it now. But in the case of Myron, if he's not a foundational Black American, the question begs, well, why are you so interested in criticizing these people or being, observing these people? I think that's a question that needs to be asked at this juncture.
Why are you talking shit about white people and white supremacists? Since you're not white, you can't give an opinion.
But I'm a victim of white supremacy. I can talk.
So that was a good flip right there. I like that flip that Myron used. That was very intelligent and strategic. And Tariq's rebuttal is also legitimate and logical. He's saying, yeah, I am not one of them, touche, but I'm victim of them. So I'm actually speaking about an entity, a group that is constantly engaging me with negativity, a group that is taking offense toward me. So both sides were clever there.
Oh, see how it doesn't work out? It doesn't make sense, does it?
Because we're being victimized by the white supremacists. So I can talk about.
Oh, how are you being victimized by the white supremacists?
Because they've created a system of white supremacy that they've militarized, and we can't break out of it because they have a military stronghold over us, sir.
Okay, so that is not true. I don't think that white supremacy is a military stronghold. White supremacy is it's a psychological disposition. It's an ideology. It's not held together by militarism. There's no doubt that white supremacy has forwarded militarily as well, but it is not held together by militarism. That's complete silliness. And this is where folks who would describe him as one with a victim mentality, this is where they are accurate when he says we can't break out of it. Well, that's not true. I mean, there is nothing too strange to occur on Earth. Anything can occur on the planet Earth.
And you too.
Okay, tell me in 2024 how the white supremacists are holding you back militarily.
They control all areas of activity and they dominate all areas. And when we start building on our own, they use their military to destroy it all across the board. Whenever we build prosperous neighborhoods, they use their military to destroy it. And they've done this all across the board. They control the educational.
So that's correct in that it has been done in the past. Black Wall Street is an example of that. Will it be done currently? I don't think that this would occur under the current regime in the United States. And then secondly, we have individuals like Marcus Garvey who are Pan-Africanists, the original Pan-Africanists, which Pan-Africanism is nonsense. And I can talk about that if someone wants me to. You can send in a super chat using the information below and I'll address it. And I'm the person who's traveled more widely in Africa than any of the people who mention the word Pan-Africanism, including Marcus Garvey. But if you are concerned about being victim in America, then you could theoretically build your community or your civilization in the African continent. I actually think you'd probably be safer and better off doing it in the United States at some level, in as much as it's less likely that the United States is going to attack itself or its own land. But we have seen, with into groups like Waco, which was not a Black group, the American government just does not want another power on American soil. But I think that, again, you have to make an effort. Complaining and whining and saying, this will never work is not going to move the needle. And it seems as though folks like Tariq Nasheed reached this point of being stuck, being ideologically stuck. And at some level, I think that has to suggest that either Tariq is a white supremacist himself, meaning that the whites are so dominant that we just can't beat them. We can't overcome them. So Tariq himself is a white supremacist, or perhaps he is one who believes in Black inferiority.
System. When we try to get our own educational system, they use their militarized system to destroy it. They destroy it all across the board. And these are facts, sir. We're under a global system of white supremacy.
Okay.
Tulsa, Oklahoma was 100 years ago, bro.
Hold on. So let me ask you this.
They build freeways and train tracks in Black neighborhoods that's prosperous even today. I live in Los Angeles. Crenshaw Boulevard, they're destroying the Black businesses by building a train system down Crenshaw Boulevard. They do this stuff now. We can
control Los Angeles. Who are the elected politicians in Los Angeles?
So you're telling me
that is quite dirty to build a train track through Crenshaw Boulevard. That is certainly a hub in Los Angeles, Black neighborhood. There's just no doubt about that. I agree.
We get sabotaged, and the great thing about us, even though we get sabotaged, even though we get sabotaged, we can still rebuild and we can still find success. They sabotage you wannabes too.
Politicians in Los Angeles that you're talking about this being destroyed.
Yo, mute everybody except for me and Tariq. Fine, let's have a discussion, Tariq. So let's have a discussion, because I've been waiting a very long time to talk to you, because you are literally the Lord of victimhood. So let's go ahead and have
you are the Lord of victimization, sir. But go ahead.
Okay, sure.
A wannabe,
well,
but you're a wannabe. You're not
right?
even a real white supremacist. You're a wannabe. But go ahead, Myron.
Fantastic, fantastic. Anyway, so you're claiming that the white supremacists control the military, which is holding back the blacks in America. Okay, do you believe that's still the case in 2020?
Right now, this very minute.
Really?
That's a clear answer.
Holding back, and when I mean holding back, they keep an oppressive system that will dominate and control what we do. Even though there's still black people who are successful. Hell, I'm a millionaire. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm still under a system of
You
white
ain't no billionaire, you lying.
He said he's a millionaire.
Here we go. I'm gonna rewind that. Ooh, that white supremacy just jumped out that ball. I'm gonna rewind that.
Even though there's still black people who are successful. Hell, I'm a millionaire. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm still under a system of
You
white
ain't no billionaire.
The ball is so damn racist that he couldn't even hear a black man speak. You know what I mean? He couldn't even interpret the words correctly. You ain't no billionaire, you lying black N-word. It's like, bro, like he didn't say billionaire. Like, chill, man. Like, and didn't we already tell you that this conversation is between Myron and Tariq? Like, bro, chill. It's just the hatred is just so strong, and it's emotional, right? It's emotional, and it's infecting his reason. He can't even hear straight. That was wild.
A millionaire.
I didn't say billionaire. I said a millionaire. And that's verified. Y'all can verify.
My bad.
That's easily verified. But that doesn't mean
my bad. You goddamn doofus. Oh my Lord. Whoo-wee. Whoo-wee.
So Tariq, if you were able to do it and you're black, why can't others?
Because we're phenomenal as black people. Foundational black Americans are absolutely phenomenal. That's why we can do it.
Okay, so why can't others do it then? If they're being held down like you claim, why can't they do it? You did it. You did it, right?
Everybody can't do it in a system of white supremacy. Everybody's not going to be able to do it. I was able to do it because I understood the system, and I kind of worked.
See, right now, this is where we're hearing excuses. Now, are there more obstacles to a black man becoming as successful as a white woman? Oh, for sure, absolutely. Are there more obstacles to a white man becoming as successful as a white woman? Oh, absolutely. But is that where we want to focus, or do we want to focus on the solution? So we want to focus on empowering. You see, Tariq brings up things that are valid, and he harps on them a bit too much. And as a result, I think those who are on the opposing side, some of whom may be racist, others may not be, they then paint him as a victimologist. And at some level, it's correct. I would hope that they could all find a middle ground. But here's the funny thing, though Tariq might be a victimologist, on the opposing side, they're not trying to find solutions. You know, they're not trying to find solutions to help blacks move forward. It does seem as though they've kind of retreated to just insulting the black people. And that's about it.
Around it. But I called this system out. But I would have been much richer without the system of white supremacy. We live in a global system of white supremacy.
Okay, so it's interesting because, you know.
Now, is that true or not true, Myron? I mean, shit. Am I making this up?
No.
Then why did they say that? Then why did they say this is their words? The white supremacists said this. This is them.
See, I've let you speak, but you don't let me speak.
I'm not cutting you off. This is a dialogue.
No, you have.
We're having a conversation. So I'm asking you.
No, we are. But a part of a conversation is you got to let the other.
And you're going to have to let me speak. I've just answered your question. I've
let you speak plenty of times. All right, I'll let you finish your thought. Go ahead.
So Myron, is that true or not true? Do we live in a system of white supremacy or not?
There is nothing holding back black people from success.
Do we live in a system of white supremacy or not? Then why did the white supremacists say that they have a system of white supremacy? This is their words. They said this. They put this in law.
They can say whatever they want, Tariq. It's up to you on how you're going to go ahead and make a do of it.
So I think the more honest thing would have been for Myron to state, I don't know if there's a system of white supremacy, but there's certainly white supremacists, and there's advantage built into the society for whites as they were the framers of this particular society and government. However, it's not enough, and this is what Marquette Devon Burton always says, it's not enough white supremacy or racism to stop a determined Black person from being successful. And that's the bottom line.
There's nothing holding back Black people from becoming successful. As a matter of fact, why is it that we had stronger Black households during the Jim Crow eras when Black people were the most oppressed that they've ever been? We had higher rates of education. We had two-parent households. We had successful Black families. We had more Black businesses. Why is it that when we were the most oppressed, as you would claim, we actually had the best statistics, but now that we have the most freedom, we're the worst off? I'll tell you why. It's because of bad decisions. It's not a system of white supremacy as you claim. Hold on. Let me finish my point. Let me finish my point.
I want to get on this
because that's great, bro. Because you guys like to blame the police, you guys like to blame the government, you like to blame everybody else except for people making bad decisions. Explain to me this as well. You sit there and say, "Oh, you're not a foundationally Black American, whatever."
Okay, see, right now, Myron just made a point, and it may be, it's definitely an interesting point for discussion. So right now, Myron should stop talking and allow Tariq to respond to that. Now, I think that Myron's, it was an attempt at a particular argument, and I think it was a good attempt. I can easily pick it apart on both sides, on a side that would be favorable to Tariq and a side that would be favorable to Myron. But I think it was a really interesting point. I'm curious to hear the rebuttal from Tariq, but now it seems like Myron's going on to a different point. And the challenge is with these arguments, so that can be quite complex. You don't want to put too much out there without giving the opposition time to respond, because then the audience can't track if we're addressing each point.
Okay, Tariq, let's say that I'm not a foundational Black American. Me and you get pulled over by the police. Do you think the police that are racist, by the way?
Okay, it's like now you're talking about the police, bro. Like before you were saying, why were Blacks better off under Jim Crow segregation? Now you're talking about you getting pulled over by the police. So now you see why he should have stopped and allowed Tariq to reply.
And led by white supremacists. Do you think they give a fuck that I'm from Sudan and that you're a foundationally Black American? No, we're both niggas to them. Because my hair's wavy, your hair might be a little bit wavier, but they're not going to care. We're both going to get treated the same. We're both going to go ahead and be looked at as niggas, because they don't give a shit about this differentiation that you FBAs like to do, where you guys like to divide and conquer within your own race, which is clown world, by the way. That's a whole other
now
thing.
you're going to have to
No, that doesn't make sense what Myron's saying, because every ethnic group has identity, right? You don't go to Europe and say, you're all white. You're all white. For example, I got a Polish girl and I got a Ukrainian girl. The Polish girl doesn't like Ukrainians at all. There's probably not a day that I spend with her she doesn't say at least one or two racist things about the Ukrainians, right? And maybe racist is not the right word, maybe discriminatory. But the fact of the matter is a Swede and an Italian are different types of white. They're different ethnic groups, and they're not going to be subsumed into the same group. So that's not a reasonable argument that's being made.
What I'm trying to say is this. Hold on. I will. But what I'm simply saying
Why
is
are you saying we? Because you kept saying you weren't in Jim Crow. You were immigrant. Yeah. You weren't here.
No. I'm telling you, by the white supremacist standards you're saying, because you're trying to say that, it's different for FBAs versus immigrants. It's not. They look at a Nigerian, they look at a Sudanese, they look at an FBA. We're all the same to them, bro, because they see skin color. They don't give a fuck about your last name.
You keep talking about we. You weren't in Jim Crow.
Wow, here we go. The division once again, even in a conversation.
Lineage. We don't come from the same lineage. And if there's no white supremacy, why?
Yo, that's a fact. I mean, Myron saying we from an ethnic standpoint is comparable to a person from Spain saying we when talking to a Black American. And geographically, I think Spain is closer to the United States than Sudan is. So just in terms of like heritage and like where you come from and culture, a Black American and a Spaniard might have more in common because they're both Western, whereas a Sudanese is not Western, right? Black Americans were, our last couple centuries have been in the West under essentially a European culture. Spain is a European culture. So ironically, from an ethnic standpoint, a Spanish-speaking white person from Spain could probably more reasonably say we than a Sudanese Arab-speaking Black or mixed blood person from Sudan. So this is a legitimate objection that is put forward by Tariq.
why did your homeland fail when you had
you are perpetuating the very racism that you're complaining about right now.
But why did you have to flee your homeland after the white supremacists destroyed it? They destroyed the Sudan. That was the white supremacists orchestrating that, sir. Why did you have to flee if there was no white supremacy?
That's true.
Sure. Okay. So what do you like? I mean, what's your point with this? You're trying to say white supremacy runs the world, which I don't.
But then why did you have to flee? I mean, the British went over there. They were running roughshod over in the Sudan. The reason why it's so janky because of the white supremacists. They destroyed it over there. They orchestrated it, right?
I'm talking about the United States.
No. I'm talking about global white supremacy. White supremacy is global. It's a global thing, right?
I'm talking about the United States because that's what's
no.
Now.
The world is pertinent.
Because
you're complaining
is pertinent. That the United States is specifically is militarily.
I said
holding
global.
Back the black man.
No. I said global because there's no place we can go that's free of white supremacy. Name the country that's white supremacy free.
There's none.
China.
United Arab Emirates, Middle East in general.
Whoever said China, that person clearly has never been to China or indulged in Asian culture. That's amazing. That was a very bad answer.
Saudi Arabia. Like, bro,
really?
Come on, man. Yes.
Dude, they got the
matter of fact, they stopped using the American dollar. I think that's pretty free of white supremacy as you claim. Saudi Arabia literally just told the United States, fuck off, we're not using the US dollar anymore. That is the biggest F you to white supremacy that in the world.
They can bomb that place to hell.
They can bomb that place tomorrow. The Middle East, they bomb that place whenever they feel like it. If you don't stop,
they're not bombing.
They got warships. There's European warships over off the coast of China now. What are y'all talking about?
Gaddafi's a good example.
Right. They'll get when they.
Yeah, I'm talking about Saudi
right.
Arabia,
It don't
bro.
matter.
I'm talking about fucking Libya.
Saudi Arabia, they have a deal with them for the oil and all of that, but they can wipe them off the map anytime they feel like.
Do you even know what the petrodollar is, Tariq?
Sir, can they not? Can the white supremacists wipe them off?
Exactly.
You've been deflecting.
I have not
deflected.
I have not deflected.
Yes, you have. This is my stance. Tariq, this is my stance.
I'm talking global
there is
white
nothing holding back.
It held you back
from success.
White supremacy held you back, and you had to flee. You had to come flee.
There is
nothing.
There is nothing.
You had to flee to
there
get
is
over
nothing
here
holding back. Okay, bro, you keep mentioning this whole fucking
right
thing.
Because
again,
you
like
you're a perfect example.
There is nothing
you are an example.
Holding back.
You are an example.
There is nothing holding back black people from success in America in 2024.
But there was something holding you back from your homeland, and you had to flee. That's why you had
Myron,
to
you make a good point, Myron.
So when Myron's saying there's nothing holding black people back from success, that's not quite true. There's just not enough. I think this argumentative point is a bit dead, and hopefully they move on to something new.
Point. It's kind of a good point. I got to admit that.
Not really, because I'm talking about
the United States. Globally. Hold on.
I'm talking about
Sneako. Look,
Sneako, where you at, Sneako? Look, Sneako still in here because your country too.
No, he fled. He fled.
Said he fled. Beautiful. Shout out to Mr. Morency. He writes, can you explain how any boxer can defeat John Jones or Francis Ngannou in a street fight after being taken down? Well, the fact is most street fights don't start on the ground. Most street fights start from the shoulders with punching. And so boxers clearly have much more punching power. They sit down on their punches. So whoever gets off first is going to be in the advantage. That's how they win. Thank you for that question. Carrying on.
Fled, okay.
No,
yeah,
I'm not agreeing with
Tariq,
but he made a good point by saying globally this system does exist.
Blessing, your mic sucks, bro. Just be quiet. Anyway, like I was saying, bro, it's very simple. I'm simply saying there.
Absolutely love it. Absolutely. Shout out to Quat supporting the work via PayPal. Appreciate you. Mohammed writes, quite off topic, but I just finished your Pop the Balloon pure gold commentary. You're truly one of one. I appreciate that. And for those of you who haven't checked it out, take a look. See, it's very entertaining. Shout out to Mr. Mugisha. He writes, Pan-Africanist. Please touch on that, Saint. Yes, indeed. With regards to Pan-Africanism, this is an idea you often hear from individuals like Dr. Umar Johnson, who are so black, so African that they refuse to live in the African continent. That's how black they are. Furthermore, in my extensive travels throughout sub-Saharan Africa, and I've also traveled in Northern Africa as well, we find consistently that the blacks, even within a given territory, do not identify with one another. They're like, oh, I'm Osa, or I'm Zulu, or I'm this, or I'm Swati, or I'm fill in the blank. They identify with their tribe and their language. And when you look at certain places that have stronger economies, they absolutely despise the influx of Africans from other nations. You'll be in South Africa and they'll complain that Shona are coming in from Zimbabwe, other black people that are also English speaking, and they don't want them there. They think they're taking jobs, which is ironic because they're ignoring the fact that 90% of the economy is bound by the 10% of the population that is white, right? So they ignore the fact that the whites have been dominating the economy since ever. Then they get mad at a couple Africans coming in from other African countries. So if you think Pan-Africanism can work or is reasonable, you're a complete nut job. In a given African country where you've had tribes living alongside each other for a significant amount of time, they don't even identify with one another. So to think that you, an American-born black person, can go to the continent and make kumbaya with the varieties of ethnicities and tribes and languages, you are a complete nut. In fact, I remember when I was in South Korea dealing with this turbo thick Kenyan young lady, and she had said, she's like, you know what, Black Americans are more like the whites than they are like us. And at some level, that's completely sensible. So Pan-Africanism is a pipe dream that's never, ever shown any progress. You've never seen a Black American come to the continent and successfully establish anything. The closest effort toward that would be Liberia, which was actually not the effort of Pan-Africanists. It was really the effort of white racists, low-key, and some white abolitionists. So there you go.
There's nothing in 2024 that is holding black people from success. This white supremacy that you claim is a facade. You can go ahead and become successful regardless of your skin color in 2024.
It's a facade.
If it was real in your homeland, it's real over here. It's a real global phenomenon.
Walter writes via PayPal. He writes, Myron later says he doesn't care about the Sudan. You know what? I can believe that. Shout out to Matthew with a baller alert. He writes, thank you for your continued efforts. As always, glad to catch this live. Peace of Saints. I appreciate you, Matthew. Shout out to the ballers. Shout out to the people who really support the work. It means a lot.
So you're really going to compare Sudan to the United States of America?
Yeah, white supremacy is white supremacy all over the world, sir.
Incredible.
It's all over. It's white supremacy.
You're comparing third world country
to the
United States.
Tariq, I have a question. Why do all black millionaires and billionaires buy houses in white communities? Why do you think that?
There's a very simple answer to this, but let's hear what Tariq says.
Well, if we live in a white community, it ain't a white community, then is it? Boop. If we live there, it ain't white, huh?
You're crying about Crenshaw. You don't live in Crenshaw.
Boop. Go ahead. Now, Myron, let's go back to you. So
that boop thing was weird, but carrying on.
How are we going to accept that?
I meant black people in white communities.
Yeah, if we live there, it must not be a white community.
Tariq, again, you cannot refute my main point, which I'm telling you.
You're proof.
I'm
you're
telling
proof
you
that white supremacy is global.
Because you're trying to change the argument. I'm simply saying.
I guess bro got his quick response. He just folded on that one. Okay. Shout out to Mr. Morency. He writes, Myron is more a KKK hood and was saying, Myron wore a KKK hood and was saying the N-word with an hard R. Since he's your friend, what are your thoughts on that as an FBA? I don't think much about it, to be honest with you. I think it's tasteless or distasteful, but I don't think much more than that. I think people do foolish things all the time. Does it impact me, impact my income? No. I think it's just silly.
In 2024, there is nothing that holds black people from success. Racism is no longer a valid.
That's a lie. That's a lie. That's just I'm a tether. That's I'm a tether, and I say so. Just because you say it, don't make it true. The experience is real. White supremacy is a very real thing.
What holds black people back then? So what holds black people from success in America?
Disparities in the judicial system, right? You got education, right? You got the financial.
Yeah. I wish he would have just stuck with that piece on disparities in the judicial system. I think that's a fascinating one, and that one is documented. I have a book that documents that in my Amazon book list, which is listed in the description, and I've even experienced that, unfortunately. Also, disparities in the educational system is also a factual piece. I did Teach for America, and in part because of this very reason. So these two things are actual facts, and both of them can be reviewed with great amounts of data.
Come on, Myron. Come on, cut this shit.
Yeah, and even though and the great thing and the thing about foundational.
Let's address that real quick.
The judicial system. Oh, let's get to the judicial system, right?
Yeah.
It's how my community has been screaming about this shit for decades, right?
Sure.
But as soon as it hit the J6s, right, and Trump, we can. It's
you
valid,
know how you don't
right?
go into
it's valid, right? Disparities in crack versus cocaine, right?
It's a.
See, now those kinds of disparities I don't think are as interesting. When you say, oh, look at the sentencing for crack versus cocaine, and crack sentencing adversely affects blacks who are lower income because crack is a lower cost drug. Yeah, though that might be a dirty game, the fact of the matter is that's more class and economic based. But what's more important than that is, don't use crack, right? You see, what you're dealing in is basically suggesting that, we're being punished more for our wrong deeds. Well, you also have to remember that you're essentially a guest in a country that was not designed for you. So in as much as that's the case, you need to be wiser and follow the rules a little bit more. That's just what it is. Secondly, I think something that's more interesting is when you look at apples to apples, which is to say, not looking at whites who get busted with cocaine versus blacks who get busted with crack. Rather, you would look at whites and blacks who get busted for the same crime. And what you'll find is that the sentencing is disproportionately harsh for blacks when you hold everything consistent among criminal record and the conviction, the crime of conviction. Then you find that blacks still get more time locked up. Now, that is a more interesting argument, which is a clear documentation of disproportionate punishment.
It's an epidemic when it's y'all on meth and opioids, right? When it hits my community, it's criminals. We got
and see these kind of guys who are complaining about the nature of the drugs used by given races. I think that is as true as it may be. That's not the important thing to focus on. What's important to focus on is cleaning people up. This is one of the things I respect greatly about the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who is the founder of the Nation of Islam, which has done great things in reducing Black recidivism and also keeping Black folks off of drugs. And that's something that is a major focus of mine, because having grown up in the ghetto, I see that drugs really destroy not only persons in ghettos, it destroys all of humankind. Shout out to the Taliban in Afghanistan. They were able to get a lot of their population off of opioids and various addictions, which was destroying their people. But the issue here is focus on getting these people to stop using dope. Okay, like that's more important. Trying to get the system to stop giving long jail sentences for using dope is something that you can't control. They need to understand locus of control. You're not going to control the American legal system. You should lobby for sure, but you should be a greater lobbyist in getting your people on track.
Yes, Myron.
Yeah. Hey, Rios, how about this? Myron, how about you just don't go into the judicial system and don't commit crimes? How about that?
So, Myron, so you think
I agree. That's a reasonable conclusion.
You just don't commit crimes.
Myron, you think all police actions are justified, right?
No, I'm saying don't commit crimes. So you don't deal with the police.
Like Ashley Babbitt, right?
What are you talking about?
Don't commit crimes. You guys complain about what happened to Ashley Babbitt. She should not have been committing a crime, but you guys said that she was unjustly put down. So
I didn't say shit. No one said anything about that, bro. You're putting words in our mouth.
Calm down.
Nobody said anything.
Exactly. Are you? By the way, are you?
For his donors wouldn't know.
I didn't totally get
that. Yeah, because again, going back.
Hold on, Myron, because you're saying, even if they don't commit crimes, the system still exists. So they're addressing the judicial system as a whole.
What they really need to address is the lack of organization within Black communities. You see, if Black communities were better organized, it would be much harder for them to be victim of, let's say, aggressive policing, for example. I think that's the issue.
For crimes, which they shouldn't do, whether they do it or not, it still exists. That's their point, I think.
I could barely understand what the hell you're saying. Your mic sucks.
They're trying to adjust.
So,
they're trying to adjust.
How about you let them talk? How about you let them talk and shut the fuck up and let them talk? Because I don't understand what you're saying.
So no one can hear me right now.
There we go.
Yeah, bro, your microphone sucks, bro. Get this blessing nigga out of here, man. Let Tariq and this other clown, his black boy, talking.
I don't have. Well, I'm talking to Myron and Sneako.
Yo, Tariq, why don't you help your run it up? He's just like you, except he's broke.
Okay, well, that was a good one. Whatever you're talking.
Oh, we got Tommy in the house too. We got Tommy Sotomayor in the house. So, yeah, go ahead.
You're South Florida
Tariq.
trash, right? Yes. Come on, you're not a Jew.
But Myron,
you don't matter.
But we need to have a sit down, Myron. We should have a good sit down and just really chop it up and flesh all of this stuff out and really talk about this stuff person to person, face to face. That would be wouldn't that be a great conversation, guys?
I mean, we're talking about it right now. You have
Yeah, I'll be happy to host this conversation in Saint City on neutral ground. So, let Tariq know, let Myron know. I'll host this conversation at Assassin headquarters. And by the way, I think I'm probably the only person that has a big enough studio, number one. And then number two, has the security apparatus that can make sure that nothing happens. Shout out to L2 supporting the work. I think I had already acknowledged that. Shout out to Joel as well. Shout out to the Ballers. He writes, you must admit that incels and tricks like those guys harbor a tinge of racial resentment and jealousy against Black Americans. Your breakdown is masterful. I'm listening in awe. I appreciate that. Shout out to Lil supporting the work. Okay, looks like he came back. He writes, the fact he kept saying they're wannabe white and failed in their homeland really hit home for them. The whole thing was hilarious. Shout out to Pharaoh. He writes, first time contributor. Okay, may we all acknowledge Pharaoh for the first time. He writes, thanks for being fair on your evaluation. I always appreciate your input. Always a great listen. Peace and love. I appreciate that. May I acknowledge Spiritual Awakening 333 came in 2 times supporting the work. I appreciate you. Shout out to Casual Germ supporting. May I also acknowledge Mayhem Mob writes, Myron likes that. Oh, Myron talks like that. I'm sorry. I think there may be a typo on this first sentence. I think he's saying that Myron speaks in the same way that a lot of other foreigners, brown-skinned foreigners do when they get here. He writes, in my opinion, Myron has disdain for Black Americans. I appreciate you. Thank you for the support. I acknowledge Fila Speaks supporting again. Shout out to the real ones. I also acknowledge AG7 TV writes, Saint, just curious, why are you opposed to the PAN? I'm not opposed to it. It's just not a real movement. It's not anything you can be opposed to. It just doesn't exist. It's not a real thing, and it's also not possible. Even when you look at the Pan-Arab movement, which was pioneered by Gamal Abdel Nasser, he was the hero of that movement. Now, number one, he was a head of state, which none of the persons who promote Pan-Africanism are heads of state. Number two, the Arabs are at least linked by something very powerful, also known as Islam, which is a religion, God, the idea of life and death and salvation. Those are powerful concepts in the human spirit. The Blacks are not unified by any of that. So it's not possible. It's not real. It's fictional. Shout out to Believer 89. I also acknowledge TB. Shout out to Fila Speaks came in again. He writes, if not Black Americans, the U.S. would be a third world country because who else fights for justice? That's why all these people flee. All these people flee. Okay. Shout out to Joe K supporting the work. Appreciate you. Carrying on.
I haven't brought up one instance of how we're held back in 2024.
I just did, but you're just doing them a tether and I say so. But you don't really have an
They
argument.
use the judicial system.
You don't. Yeah, we keep
system
pointing stuff out, and you just say
and education, judicial and education system.
And we pointed out your homeland, and you were that doesn't matter.
You keep going back to Jim Crow, and you talk about America.
Global white supremacy.
Oh man, holy shit!
And there's a reason why you had to come and platform yourself by spewing anti-Black racism.
Hey, Tariq, are any of your donors racist? Are any of your donors racist?
You can get that out your mouth. That's what.
Interesting.
But we're talking about it.
Interesting how you take money. You take money from racists. You take money from
racists.
You're just saying about racism.
You're just white supremacists.
Hold on, real quick.
You're just saying it.
So,
yeah, that one guy with the obnoxious voice, he's a real displeasure to listen to.
Corny, unfunny. I'm talking about.
Yeah, Tariq, I find it interesting, man, how, like I said, I'm keeping the conversation.
That's what I'm doing. I'm trying to be focused. Now they're trying to get into
no, because you keep mentioning Sudan.
Yes, because
you keep mentioning Sudan.
That's significant.
Okay?
That's significant.
And I'm telling you that's not significant because let's assume I wasn't from. It doesn't matter where I'm from.
You're from Sudan. You're a Sudanese guy.
That's not relevant to the debate because the point you're making an ad hominem.
That's not an ad hominem, dude. We're talking about global white supremacy.
That's not an ad hominem.
That is global white supremacy.
I'm talking about.
You had to flee to come over here to Black Daddy. You had to flee to us.
I'm talking about America. I'm about America. I don't give a fuck about anywhere else. I'm talking about America.
And you have a lane to come over here because of Foundation of Black Americans, sir. We fought racism to help you get here, sir.
Okay.
Anyway,
that may be
like
valid.
I was saying,
that may be valid.
In 2024, there is nothing holding back black people from success.
Saying that over and over doesn't make it true. You don't
So
have
give
to
one
say that over and over.
example, because
If
Myron's
that's your
from here.
argument, then you tap out. You don't have an argument. You just name a system in this country or in the world that's not dominated by white supremacy. Name something that's
NBA.
Did you say the NBA?
I would name that. That's foolish. Shout out to Donald Sterling. But what I would name is the Chinese Communist Party. I'd name the Chinese Communist Party. I think that'd be relevant. But really, we have a greater discussion, something that would be helpful to mankind, not in searching for problems or searching for our disadvantage, but rather looking out to see where our opportunities are, where we can grow, where we can become better. I think that should be the focus. And that's one of my main criticisms of gentlemen like Tariq is that, you need to inspire the people. You need to show the people growth, give them education toward gainful employment, not discouragement and giving them a bleak outlook on things.
Who are the owners?
Zionists. It's not white
people.
All
right.
There you go.
Is it the whole not white but Jewish thing?
Yeah, those are
the same Zionists to fund the Democratic Party, the same Zionists who are fucking pushing reparations, so dumb fucking morons like you could fucking do it.
Nobody's really white.
And again, the cursing is like, who is this guy and why is he so angry? Like, he clearly is a hateful person, whether he's hateful against blacks or whatever the case may be. Like, something's wrong with this fella. Like, he is just cursing too much.
Triggered. Let him and Myron talk.
Very triggered.
So it's the nobody's white. It's the whole nobody's white argument. Okay.
No, people are white, but do you not know the ethnic difference between people from Israel?
White.
Do you not know the difference ethnically between
Israel.
whites and Zionists?
What are you talking about?
Okay, what's the difference?
They're Jewish and they don't have white DNA. They're not from the Caucasus region, dumbass.
No, actually, they are, Sneako, and you're lying, and you're not qualified to speak on such things, Sneako.
It's a whole different ethnicity. They're the chosen people. White people do not.
That was crazy. Did Sneako just claim that human beings are chosen people? Did Sneako just say that? That was completely stupid. That's amazing.
They're white.
America.
They're white. Right, and that's how they came over and subverted y'all white people.
That's where you guys lost. Jews and whites.
So you can delineate white people and Jews, and I can't.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Why is it you can delineate between the blacks?
I can't delineate from your.
And then, but we can't delineate between the whites. That wouldn't make any sense.
No. Slow down. Oh, no. We delineate from black Africans, but we're foundational black Americans. So we're still black.
Foundational. What does that mean?
We're still black. We're still black. I'm just a foundational black American. You're saying that Jewish people are not white?
I was told that the fact the FBA guys.
What is foundational black American?
The guys who came in to call into my show, they said the blacks was something that blacks in America used. That this wasn't a term that was used. That's why they said you ask them other people what they are. They say they're Nigerian. They say they're whatever, but they don't say they're black. They said black is specific for the ones who came on my show. Said it was specific for blacks in America. Is that true? Because I don't know.
Okay, because some black people.
Number one, what does it matter? And then number two, a Nigerian doesn't need to call themselves black when they're in Nigeria because everyone's black. Just like a white person in Europe doesn't need to call themselves white if they're in a homogenous country. This is silliness. So why we're even discussing such elementary topics is beyond me. Now, why would a black person call themselves a black American? Because they are American by nationality and black is their racial category. And they're referring to a specific group of black people who are in the United States, largely as a result of the Mayafa, the transatlantic enslavement, the Black Holocaust, if you will. Now, when does that become relevant? Like, say you're abroad. I think really it becomes most relevant when you're out of the country. If you're in America, you don't need to say you're a black American. People can see you, right? But say, for example, I'm in Poland. I don't need to say I'm a black American. I just need to say I'm an American because people can see me. But in some cases, you would have to consider identify yourself as a black American in as much as they might presume that Americans are white or that you're from Africa. But generally speaking, the only term that's necessary is American when you're referring to nationality. But the reason the term Black American or African American exists is because it describes a specific ethnicity that is without name. For example, the Yoruba an ethnicity or a tribe in Nigeria. That's a specific ethnic group that has a shared history. The blacks of America have a shared history, but they have no name. So the nomenclature becomes Black American or African American to refer to an ethnic group. You're welcome.
People will come over here from Nigeria. And is that Tommy talking? That Tommy? Now you pretend.
Yes, I was just wondering, is that part true?
Wake it up.
But Tommy, I would say you're not really Panamanian. But a lot of Panamanians, they come over here and if they're dark skinned, they'll say that they're black. But he's saying that a white Jewish person ain't really Jewish or white. I'm trying to make sense of it. What is it?
You can. It doesn't make sense. If you're saying that Jews are not white, you're not making any sense whatsoever. Shout out to Nerod Israel supporting the work. Now also acknowledge Fila Speaks writes, if the Saint and Tariq work together, we would get I'm not going to ever work on reparations. I don't believe that men should ask other men for favors. I am one who believes in earning. I'm one who believes in entrepreneurship. I'm one who believes in, like, if someone has something that's yours and it's yours, go take it. You don't need reparations. Your enemy is not going to give you anything. If it's yours, go take it. You don't need reparations. Get it the way they got it. They got it from taking it from you. Warfare. Well, then get it back through warfare. But reparations is not a realistic thing. It's silly.
And whites aren't even genetically
genuinely the first time you've heard about the difference between a Jew and a white person in all the years you yap about race?
Because a lot of Jewish people classify themselves as white.
Yes, to go undercover and to go under the guise of white supremacy.
Like a lot of like a lot of Nigerians and stuff call themselves black, and y'all have said that they do it.
Black is a racial category. It is not an ethnic descriptor. It's a racial category. So rightfully, Nigerians are black. Americans, Black Americans or African Americans are black. There are Mexicans who are black. There are Panamanians who are black. There are Jamaicans who are black. Black is a racial category in anthropology known as Negroid. Similarly, yes, the Caucasoid category, the Jew fits in there, the Anglo-Saxon fits in there, and many others from Europe who originate in Europe.
To try and subvert blackness.
A lot of them try to pretend to be foundational Black American.
Yes,
they do.
Just like the Jews that go undercover and pretend to be white when they're Jewish and they hold allegiance to Israel. Do you not know what that is?
That was nonsense. Sneako's an imbecile. He's like through YouTube videos. He's an idiot.
Africa, do you not understand the difference between the genuinely concerned?
We can't say it. The Zionists funded the NAACP. They
foundational talk about.
Wait. Explain. My wife is Jewish.
Stop chimping out, bro. You gotta chill.
Explain. My wife is Jewish. What?
Now he's acting stupid.
Anything right now?
Yeah, I didn't say your wife is Jewish, but the first time that you actually heard that there's a difference, keep on interrupting about race and of white supremacy is different.
Trolling. He's trolling.
I'm not trolling, but you're not listening to me without.
No, because now you're talking about people like an Anglo white supremacists.
They're a completely different ethnicity.
How so?
Jewish people.
See, now he's talking about different ethnicity. Yeah, that's fine. They're clearly different ethnicities, but they're the same racial category. And racism is based on race, not ethnicity. If you're talking about ethnicity, then that's discrimination, not racism.
People are the chosen people that goes back thousands of years. It comes from the book. They come.
Bro, stop
there's a big difference. Asking me the difference between.
That's down.
Trolling.
Folks to prop up sexy red.
No, so it's reversed. No, it's reversed.
You don't know the difference between Jews and whites, and you just did
it's reversed, man.
The reason why Jews and white people get lumped together is because black folks are not in position. Black folks ain't in position to delineate when it comes to oppression of black folks. White folks and Jewish people work together collectively to oppress black folks. That's a fact.
So I
think if we put things in terms of competition as opposed to oppression, it would help a lot of people out, which is to say that at some level, there's a scarcity of resources, right? Whether we're talking about commodities, oil, or we're talking about food, or we're talking about money and currency, there's a scarcity of resources, and human beings must compete for the resources. And when you look at it as competition, meaning that this group is competing to get more money, more oil, more resources, more land versus this other group, then it might make you guys feel a little bit better. This oppression makes it seem that you're a victim. No, you just got outperformed. You're not a victim. So this oppression piece, I think, is very effeminate. And as a mass, the blacks have definitely been quite effeminate.
Blacks and tethers work together to uplift blacks.
Because most of those tethers are trying to be under that cloak of white supremacy, right? They like their white.
Most of them? That's a large number.
We're talking about people like Sneako parents, right? Those model minorities. Oh, I'm not going to come over here and fight it.
This person, wait, hold on. This person writes, Saint, you're losing me. Did I ever have you? Like, I don't know your name. Have you ever supported my work? Are you a member? Like, are you a member of the Assassin? Do you have a membership? Have you ever sent in a super chat? Have you ever sent in anything? Like, are you like me? Are you like us? Like, can I be losing you, or were you like never with us? See, that's the important part. And that's the problem, is that blacks don't understand. It's like, if you don't support fill in the blank, you don't matter. You know what I'm saying? Like, you guys want things, but you don't invest into it. You don't contribute. You don't build. You expect things to be built for you. So maybe we were never together. You see what I'm saying? So that's that. Moreover, when people are talking about this oppression piece, it's like, come on, bruh. Like, you act like whites are supposed to be giving you things that they would prefer to have for themselves. If there is a pot of money that could be given out as reparations, why would they give it to you instead of themselves? If the whites have it, right? Furthermore, if the whites are bad, if they're evil, if they're oppressors, what logic does it make that they would give you reparations? It doesn't make any logical sense. So the thinking of the FBA movement, as led by Tariq Nasheed, and I am a foundational Black American, but I don't subscribe to that ideology. I'm over here messing with ism. But as the folks following him on the reparations train, if you describe whites as oppressors, whites as your enemies, the white government as white supremacists, what logic does it make that they would give you reparations? No logic. So by your own thinking, it's foolishness and it's circular. I'll go ahead and take a pause for the cause, give you guys some time to support the work if you want me to carry on. And while you're doing that, I'm going to read through this PayPal that was sent. It's about 3 pages. I would ask that you probably never send anything this long again. But the gentleman writes the following. I'm 21. I turned 22 this October. I'm living in fill in the blank, Pennsylvania, with my girlfriend of 2 years. She's 21. She works in a hospital. Her job is to bring food to patients and clean kitchens. We live together at my stepdad / stepmom's house. Stepdad / my mom's house. Okay. So you live together at your parents' house. He writes, I pay around $140 a month in mandatory, as he calls it, bills, and my girlfriend buys groceries. Okay, this is already quite an interesting story here. He writes, my mom and stepdad are in their 60s and are ready to retire in 5 years, but they say I can live here as long as I need to. Now the question is, want to or need to? I graduated high school at 18, but did not pursue college as I was an academic and had no intention of going to college, nor did I want to. Fair enough. He writes, when I turned 19, I got a part-time job as a cashier at Advanced Auto Parts. I wanted to start my own business. So this is when I came across a marketing agency model, as I was familiar with it years ago when I purchased my first course at 16. Then I bought a consulting program from a guy named such and such, and it cost me $4.7K back in December 2022. I was 19 at the time. The consulting program was centered around helping internet marketing agents. Okay. I didn't have a business or marketing agency, but I knew I had to book calls. Booked a few meetings, didn't get anywhere. Long story short. Okay. He had an outbound. Okay. So what I'm going to tell you right now is that there's a ton of details in this email, and generally speaking, as a man, you should be able to be concise. And then secondly, when people understand things, they're concise. The ability to be concise, which is to exercise concision, brevity, being brief, that's an indication of intelligence, knowledge, and thoughtfulness. So this is actually quite a long, involved thing. And there's a lot of details which may be irrelevant. I'm going to go far down to the bottom of what you said, and I'm going to read your concluding question to see if all these details are relevant. And for all of those who are watching, this is a lesson for you, especially when you're dealing in business. Important people, successful people, wealthy people, they don't have a lot of time in general, and they certainly don't have a lot of time for you, right? If you need something, right? Even if you say you're offering them something, you're probably not. So be brief. Anyways, the last sentence reads, I need stability, Saint, in my mind and cash flow. Apologies for the long message, but again, the question is, what do I do to get consistent income, given what I mentioned, without hating my life and having regrets? Okay. Now, I'll tell you this, with all the details that you put into this email, the best thing to do to invest in yourself would be to get a consultation. And I'll tell you why. There's so many freaking details in this email that it seems as though you feel overwhelmed. You have a lot of background that you feel someone needs to know that might be relevant to your economic future. So if you're taking yourself seriously, you got to ask yourself, do I think I'm going to be able to get a good enough answer in the context of a live stream that's going to set my life on the right track? Like, can someone in the context of a live stream answer me in a way that's going to set my life on track? Well, no. You probably want to be able to go back and forth and answer certain questions and have them drive your thinking and really utilize that human experience. So I'm encouraging you to be realistic, and I think that it's more realistic to use a consultation, whether it's with me or someone else, right? But that's going to be a better format to get a solution that's specific to you, because all the details you gave, those are things specific to you, and it will require you be able to go back and forth with someone. So that's my recommendation to you. If you want to book a consultation with me, it's at thesassin.com. That's THESASN.com. But I encourage you to talk to someone, because I can tell by the length of your email, just out of love and respect, that you need to talk to someone. You need to talk to someone who knows. So when you talk to me, fantastic. But talk to someone who knows.
That's white supremacists try to pawn off the supremacy on each other. They try to play hot potato when they both practice it. So I don't really get into the ethnic background of a suspected white supremacist.
So you get into ethnic background when you think it's white people, but when it's Jews, you stay quiet. Why?
No, because white is white to me.
Fair enough. And they both are factually white. Shout out to Walter. He writes, as a black man, one, I run with a Karen, the law enforcement / court system and or the mafia, if in NYC or LA, could wipe you out. This wasn't very clear to me. He writes, as a black man, comma, one run in with a Karen, the law enforcement court system and or mafia in NYC or LA could wipe you out. Yeah, that's a fact. You know, the sad thing, though, is even as a white man, a run-in with a Karen could wipe you out. That's what people are not realizing. That's how dangerous these liberal white women are. They can get anywhere.
Okay, but I just differentiated to it. No. That was the dumbest take.
Guess you'll get canceled, Sneako.
Because that's a deflection.
Tariq. Before you keep echoing this retard stuff.
What's the difference? What's the difference between a anti-black Jewish person and an anti-black Anglo? What's the difference?
They're different races, Tariq.
Oh, I can
that
answer
doesn't
that
mean
one.
Anything to me. What does that mean to me? They're both oppressing me.
System of white supremacy.
Birth of a nation. What are we doing?
So you get out of that victimhood nature
that doesn't concern me, because you both got the money from me. So
he's funded by Zionists 100%.
He doesn't care about who it is. He just wants to be in the victim.
No.
He doesn't care.
All of you, we look at you all the same.
Shout out to Jay Sanders supporting the work.
As long as he's a victim forever, as long as he feels like black
people are victimizing me, you're both one in the same.
It doesn't matter who's in power.
You're one in the same. You're one in the same. All oppressors are one in the same.
Can I explain the difference?
Okay, so he just changed. So now
not Luke.
Gotta say,
you want whites and not be silenced.
Bingo.
You can't do the same thing to Jews. So if that is if nothing else.
So Tommy is suggesting that the Jews are a different breed, because if you say something against them, then you'll be silenced. Whereas if you speak against the whites, you can go on just fine. I don't think that's entirely true, but the fact of the matter is that's correct. The Jews are a stronger ethnic group within the white collective. Just like, for example, the foundational Black American are the most wealthy ethnic group within the Black collective globally. which is to, again, merely suggest that there's diversity within racial categories. For example, the Albanians are poor whites, right? Like there's diversity. So there's not monoliths in terms of like those who fit into these racial categories. So I don't think this is a very insightful argument.
My teeth out. There's a difference.
Because that's where the bro.
And why is Tommy always yelling when he talks? Like, why is he so effeminate and emotional? It's like, bro, just say what you're saying. Like, yelling doesn't make it any more impactful. It doesn't make you seem any smarter. It doesn't verify that your point is meaningful. It just shows that you're a bit womanly and you're overly emotional.
Stop trying to act like you don't know what a Jew is. Stop acting like you know the difference between a white man and a Jew. Stop with
the more modern example. Even Milo, that's another modern example too.
Okay, great point. So Laura Loomer, she's a Zionist. She shows allegiance to Israel. Where do you see that she promotes white supremacy?
She was with the alt-right. She was out there with Richard Spencer and all of those guys.
Okay, so, because she agrees with Trump. But
also,
you see right
Ben
now,
Shapiro, you want to be
brown Muslim. I don't want to be a Christian national.
Wow, Sneako's a brown Muslim. I'm for sure that he used to be a Christian, right? Okay, he's a brown Muslim now. What is brown? That's fascinating. Is brown a race? Somebody tell me.
Nothing like those people.
You want to be a white supremacist.
You know what? I think
that's a fact. And Sneako actually tweeted himself conceding that the alt-right views him as an N-word, which it's like, why did it take you so long to figure that out, my dear boy?
Just caught on to something just now. You know, something very interesting. Tariq, I find it very problematic that you can't distinguish the difference between Jewish supremacy versus
there is no Jewish supremacy. It's only white supremacy.
Hold on. Let me just.
Oh my God.
Now, what he's talking about, Myron, you do have to let him tell you what he's talking about so you can argue his point. It's not fair for you to say this. I think this way. If he says that's not what I'm talking about, you can't keep saying, but let's do it.
I understand. Guys are completely against Jews. These guys hate Jews. A lot of, like, you look at a guy like a Henry Ford, etc. These white supremacists that black they're holding us down, etc. These guys are extremely critical of Jews. I think we need to make a delineation between Jewish supremacy, aka a lot of these Zionists.
Okay, let's say that is fair, and you know it is. I mean, it's just a greater level of sophistication in your lens. Now, being concerned with Jewish supremacy or Zionism, this is something that is more palatable or more an inclination toward an Anglo-American because this is something that is kind of creating their glass ceiling. Whereas with the Black American, their glass ceiling is most immediately created by the Anglo-American superstructure, right? So what I'm pointing out to you is that you got basically people who are not foundational Black Americans saying, hey, come on to our struggle. Let's fight the Jews. When the foundational Black American is saying, yeah, but I'm trying to fight you though, right? Like I'm trying to beat you and you're trying to beat the Jew. That's what Tariq is saying. And you have to respect the level of focus that Tariq has there. But the truth of the matter is that, yes, undoubtedly, the Jewish, the Zionists, I should say, are, you know, outperforming and dominating all groups on earth. They're definitely punching above their weight class. And Tariq is rightfully suspicious of both white supremacy and Zionism in parallel, but he views them as the same thing. And there's no logical reason for Tariq or foundational Black Americans to not view them as the same. Now, conversely, if you're a white person, of course, you're going to view Jews as a separate thing if you're not a part of their collective within the variety, their particular variety of whiteness. They don't include you because you're not of their ethnicity. So, of course, you're going to fight against them. That's more so your issue as opposed to Black folks.
And then white supremacy, which is what you're referring to, like the
all right. Now let me answer that. Let me answer that. You do have a point. You do. I will say this. That's a point.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Now I will say that a lot of the extreme white supremacists, a lot of them don't like Jewish people. They actually don't like white Jewish people. They do have a problem. I know some people in the alt-right. They don't like Ben Shapiro. But here's the problem: when the white supremacist Anglos and the white supremacist Jewish people get together, they all hate us, and that's all that matters.
You think it's about Black people?
It all gets on anti-Black racism. They all get on code against us. So their distinctions between each other don't mean a damn thing to me. That's why I look at...
And that's precisely what I just said. And that's a fact. I agree with him there.
All of them the same way. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
I see your perspective.
Anyone who says it doesn't make sense is big lying. They big lying.
But what I will say is this:
what you're saying might just be
Jewish
true.
people.
I believe. Yeah, I'm not even disagreeing. Yeah, there might be ethnic differences. Of course, there's ethnic differences.
Yeah,
I believe that wholeheartedly. Irish people weren't even considered white until much later. Greek people weren't even considered white until the 1920s. Yeah, a lot of people weren't even considered white. But once they did,
but what
right
I'm saying
now, when
is,
they were
Jews,
led into whiteness, when they were able to classify themselves as white, the common thread that bonded them all together was anti-Black racism, and that's the problem.
That might be a bit extreme to suggest that what binds whites together is anti-Black racism. I mean, that's an idea. That's something to think about, but it seems a bit extreme. Huh? That's curious.
So I don't have the luxury to
disagree with you, Tariq.
So me distinguishing their little different ethnicities under the banner of whiteness, it means no difference because they're all oppressive to me.
So
go ahead, Tom.
So let me respond to that, Tariq. Let me respond to that. Let me respond to that because this is where I'm going to disagree with you. You're saying that they are all anti-Black. I disagree. The Jews were actually critical in the civil rights movement with funding it, helping the NAACP get forward. Jews were instrumental in the civil rights movement with funding it and standing behind it. And I'm going to tell you why. The reason why is because Jews historically have been an oppressed people, and they understand.
This is a curious argument. Now, this is actually the discussion is starting to get quite interesting right now. I think it's going to an interesting point, and shout out to Myron for putting forth this argument because I think this is clever right here because he is sharing a point of fact in as much as the NAACP was founded in part by Jews, but Jews have had a curious places to play in various political and social goings on historically. Like, for example, we find that the Jews were very much so embedded in communism in various nation states. They were the intellectuals and they were also the driving force of communist ideologies and communist parties. And it's quite curious in as much as communism and its originator states that religion is the opiate of the masses and otherwise suggesting that religion itself is false and it is used to control common people. And the Jews are really bound by nothing other than religion itself, right? And some weak genetics. So it's ironic that a religious grouping of people would be the ones that are primarily pushing communism, which is anti-religious. And if you look at any of the successful communist movements, and I mean successful in the sense that they took over the government, they were all anti-religion and they mostly all banned religion such that communism itself would become religion. Shout out to Luis supporting the work. May I also acknowledge anti-OTRS.
And that open borders, the liberal mindsets and democratic governments are better for their bottom line because a lot of Jews want a one world government. Now,
let me answer that though. All right, in the night,
sure, go ahead.
Because you have Jewish people who are white who are not racist. You have Jewish people who are white who are anti-Black racist. In the 60s, there were some Jewish people.
Jewish people are not white. Tariq, stop saying that.
All right.
They're not white.
You had Jewish.
Sneako, you don't even know what race you are. Sit down and shut up. You're an idiot. Jewish people are clearly white. In fact, you mostly have to hear Jewish people say they're Jewish to even know that they're Jewish. Come on, bro. Sit down and shut up.
People like the Levitt brothers who created the modern suburbs, and they put in their contracts that you couldn't have Black people. These were white only. If these Jewish people had Jewish supremacy, they said we want white only, no Black people in these suburbs. Many of those stores that were discriminating against Black people during the civil rights era, those were Jewish-owned stores. Many of those slumlords who owned those buildings that Black people were complaining about, these were anti-Black Jewish people. So you had that.
So one of the things that we're basically hearing is that there was diversity, right? There's diversity in terms of the perspective of Jewish people vis-a-vis Black people, and that's sensible. Now, the real question is, where were the majority of people? Were the majority of Jews pro-Black or the majority of Jews anti-Black? I think they were probably anti-Black, the majority of Jews. And I'm not saying that, because Jews are particularly bad, the majority of whites were anti-Black. The majority of whites did not want integration of schools in the United States. Just human beings as a whole, generally, unless, led by a great leader or ideology, usually are provincial and fearful and hateful and petty and dishonest, and that's just human nature.
Anti-black Jewish people, you had pro-black Jewish people, but the anti-black ones, they fall under the banner of white supremacy too. See how that works?
Yeah, but there's definitely a strong amount of them that supported blacks and funded the civil rights movement.
And there were some that were oppressed.
Why are y'all not listening? If y'all are trying to make the argument that Jews subvert things, it's just really hard to listen to y'all make the argument when y'all say, I can't wait to get him here. Then when y'all get him here, y'all keep letting him off the hook. If you're telling people that Jews subvert people, then why wouldn't you just acknowledge they subverted that whole movement too? That some of them back blacks, some of them back the whole white side. It's like y'all just can't say it.
But Tommy,
that's what I just said. But why is this guy so damn emotional? He's the kind of person I would hate to communicate with, in as much as it's like, bro, like you don't even have no coochie to give me. Like I'll listen to a broad babble every now and then because I'm about to smash. You hear me? With Tommy, a little ugly self, it's like, bro, like stop acting like a broad and chill.
To keep people at the bottom. Anti-black racism is the smallest of their issues.
Yourself with white
Filipino Haitian.
Yeah, and by the way, it was a foundational Black American who stopped the Filipinos.
Well, okay, that's a serious allegation. Where do I try to align myself with white supremacy, Tariq?
You just got your damn tooth knocked out for hanging around a bunch of white supremacists in Detroit.
Tell me, like, based on my ideology, how do I try to align with white supremacy?
Because you were sitting up.
Can somebody tell Sneako to stop trying to matter? Sneako, stop trying to matter. You don't matter. This is a conversation between Tariq, Nasheed, and Myron. You got punched in the mouth. You don't matter.
They're trying to antagonize a foundational Black American brother, and he gave you a Harriet Tubman fist in your damn mouth.
Okay, because I'm trying to antagonize
did you not just hear your tropes about how what you think of the Black community?
Right, that's why you have a student. The majority of Black Americans don't. Do the majority of Black Americans dress like you and appear like you and speak like you? Yes or no?
We're not a monolith. We have a whole spectrum of the way we get down. That's the great thing. That's the great thing. No, there's no majority anything. No. That's the great thing about foundational Black Americans. Our culture is very vast. We have the sexy reds. We got the middle class people.
Bro said we got the sexy reds. Now, see, that's the issue right there. They need to be dealt with because it's not acceptable. That's the problem. And that's one of the things I respect about the Taliban is they're like, look, y'all about to follow some rules out here. And shout out to Iran, same thing. They're like, you guys are about to follow some rules out here. And that's the responsibility of men to set standards and to enforce them. Yidig. Carrying on.
People, and we got the heroes like the Rosa Parks and the Dr. Kings and the Malcolm X's and the Tariq Nasheeds and people like that.
Right, you're talking about the exceptional
thing about our culture.
But Tariq, so why were you able to become a millionaire in a white supremacist Black America?
Because I am a phenomenal foundational Black American.
Because you're phenomenal,
so
right?
So yes, you're because I'm phenomenal.
You didn't answer my question. Why? This is true, and every Black person knows this.
And many of us are very phenomenal. We know how to go out here and get it.
So why do the majority of Black Americans dress with their pants sagging and look up at sexy red?
The majority.
What I would ask Sneako is like, why do you care? Like, why do you care about that, Sneako? Like, why is that a point of interest to you in your life, Sneako? That's the real question.
The majority of Black Americans do not dress with their damn pants.
Democrat.
They do not. The majority of Black Americans don't. See, you guys, you look at things.
The majority of Black Americans don't worship celebrities in hip hop.
No, you worship
they
them.
Don't. That's you guys. Because you have to see.
So I'm a white supremacist who idolizes sexy red. Is that what you're saying?
If that.
By the way, shout to the ballers. Shout to Dorian who sent in a baller alert via Venmo. I am keeping an eye out for your email, which I don't see yet.
That's the case. Do the majority of Filipinos eat dogs and sell their kids to sex trafficking?
Damn.
We're going to do that?
Damn.
All right, then.
Damn.
We're going to go there?
You
want to do that?
You don't see the differences between races. The majority of Filipinos are hardworking. I'm asking about the average Black person.
And the majority of Black Americans are hardworking.
And we're hardworking.
The majority of Black Americans are hardworking?
Yes.
Yeah, they are. Yes, they are.
Are they? Okay, so why are they on welfare? Why do they commit most of the violent crimes?
That's white women.
They don't. Oh, well, sir.
Yo, what is Sneako talking about? See, here's the thing. Now, this is just blatant stupidity and racism just mixed in together. Sneako over here said, well, why are the majority of Black people on welfare? Like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, can you give us some data, bro? Like, you're literally making things up. You're actually making things up. And one thing that Sneako should have been challenged on when he says that, quote unquote, the majority of Filipinos are hardworking. Okay, cool. Like, what's the data to justify this? I happen to agree, but what's the data to justify that? Or are you just opining? And then if you say the majority of blacks are not hardworking, what's the data to justify this? Well, there is no data. He's just speaking from his emotions. But again, he's just a dumb kid. So why he's included on the conversation, it beats me. And I think Myron knows he's a dumb kid, but Myron's friends with him. And it get like that. Shout out to Dorian. He writes, I wanted to give a big shout out to Nick, Mackenzie, and all the Las Vegas Saints. I stayed there for almost 3 weeks. And every time we were out mobbing, we were invincible. I'm thankful for these Saints, and they taught me a lot while I was there. And shout out to you for having this organization, Peace to the Saints. Peace to the Saints, that's exactly what we're talking about. You know, we had one of the Saints come from out of town, come into the section took care of them. And it's just a beautiful thing to have so many well-organized, powerful sections. That's what this thing is about. You dig? And I appreciate you sharing that with us and letting people know what's real out here. Carrying on.
We ain't fleeing like you. If you're so hardworking in the Philippines, why the hell y'all fleeing to get up out of it?
Because I was born in this country just like you.
But like an anchor baby. That's right. They had to
you can call Brody an anchor baby.
Flee and anchor your ass here. Because you failed and your family
you know what
failed.
being born somewhere is? See, you not understand.
You
See, you actually think the majority of Black Americans, no, genuinely, and this is not like you're going to think this is racist. You actually think the majority of Black Americans are hardworking?
Yes, they are. Absolutely.
Okay. What
Absolutely, they are.
What majority?
Sneako got flamed, called him an anchor baby, and Sneako had no comeback for that. I want to hear Sneako's response to the anchor baby comment. That's number one. Number two, I want to hear Sneako justify using evidence how he knows the majority of Black Americans are not hardworking persons.
Absolutely, they
what
are.
are the industries that Black Americans work on? What do you dominate in as Black Americans?
What do you mean what we dominate in? What do you, as far as what? What do you mean? What we dominate?
Okay, in the workforce. In the workforce, where do you dominate?
So shout out to Black women being the most educated.
The workforce.
No, don't say that. That's not true.
They are or were at a point.
No, they're not. They're the most enrolled.
Tommy, I'll get it for you, Tommy.
You take the most amount of welfare. You commit the most amount of violent crime.
No.
You're so hardworking. Where do you dominate?
Sir, violent crime. You come
the majority of violent crime is from
a
Black Americans, by and large.
Sir, your lineage is violent. The Philippines is crime and violence over there. Sir, you come from that.
Absolutely.
That's why you have to flee. You can't point your finger at us. The majority of Black people don't commit crimes. That's a lie.
So I think that Tariq could have definitely held up better in this part of the argument. I think this was the first time he underperformed. Not that Sneako's putting forward meaningful arguments. He's not. He's speculating. And as a wise logician, you would have pointed that out straight away. That Sneako, that's speculation, and then the judge would have been like sustained.
Okay, so where do you dominate in the workforce? You're so hardworking. You're running from that question. Where do you dominate in the workforce? Where do you dominate in the workforce?
No, white supremacy.
Where do you dominate in the workforce, Tariq? You're so hardworking. Where?
Can we answer, or are you going to keep answering the same question?
See, you could easily flip the question back and say, well, where do Filipinos dominate in the workforce? Well, no one needs to dominate in any particular industry. You could say, well, where do whites dominate in the workforce? Well, there's not really an answer to that now, is there? Where do whites dominate in the workforce? Who knows, right? But the real question is, Sneako, well, how do you measure hardworking? Since you made that statement, I need you to substantiate it. How do you measure hardworking, and what's the data that proves your point? And he would have had no such data, because consistently we see that Sneako is a pseudo-intellectual, completely devoid of fact, is spouting out idiocy constantly. It's easy to obliterate someone like Sneako.
When I say that, everybody knows the answer. You dominate in the NBA, the NFL, and hip hop.
Oh gosh. The
systems that
what do you dominate? Okay,
nothing else.
Then what do you dominate in? What do Filipinos dominate in?
You in this space right now because you're drowning about Zionism.
Okay, all right. At least we dominate in that. What do you dominate in?
I'm dominating you in this debate right now.
Nothing.
That
means nothing.
But you're not, though. You sound stupid and you sound uninformed, right?
At least we dominate in that. Okay. At least we dominate in music. At least we dominate in sports. At least we dominate in basketball.
See, there's the answer. In music,
you don't dominate. Okay, all right. At least we dominate in that.
You don't dominate, man.
That's the answer. Music.
You dominate in fleeing.
Music and sports.
That means we're doing better than you. That means we're doing better.
Yeah, Sneako is filled with some serious hatred. I don't know what happened to Sneako. Like, clearly something happened to bro. Either that or his great effort to identify with the white collective. He thinks that this is going to gain him some points. I don't know, but Sneako's a silly little fella and an angry one too, like very mad, very angry.
pushing the economy forward, Tariq.
That means we're doing
music.
Sneako.
And music
And
and
that-
basketball.
And your shit whole country ain't dominating shit but American bases, right? And Haiti is fucking failing. This is what I'm talking about. I cannot debate with
Sneako, you can't say nothing, Sneako. You don't dominate in nothing. At least we got sports and music. You don't even have that.
You're running away from so is that hardworking music and sports?
Yep.
But they're having trouble pinning Sneako down and saying, well, Sneako, where are you or your people dominating? But really, that's not the true question. The true question is this: how do you measure hard work? And once we have that measure of how you scientifically measure hard work, well, what's your evidence that Black Americans are not hardworking? That's really the question. And then even beyond that, if we say, okay, Sneako, forget validating if your statement is true. Let's assume it's true. Let's assume Blacks are not hardworking. Now what? What's the solution? Do we eradicate the Blacks? Do we educate them? What do we do, Sneako? What's your proposal? And what are you doing? Because you seem to speak on it a lot.
That's hard work.
Okay, maybe that's that's why Black people are not succeeding.
If it was so easy, why ain't you doing it?
Okay, so maybe that's why they're not succeeding.
Doing
because instead of becoming lawyers, doctors, instead of moving the economy forward, you stick to hip hop and basketball.
And you don't have anything to stick to but fleeing and dog meat.
Yeah, that's Chinese people, retard. You don't know the difference.
Nico, your arguments
are you all the same.
Your arguments aren't arguments, Nico. Seriously, you listen to what you just asked, and then when they gave you examples, you said they're not good examples.
Okay, because he said
what do Mexicans lead in?
No, Tommy,
okay, what do Mexicans lead in?
That is the argument. He said Black people are hardworking. No, Tommy, hold up.
I'm just curious. What do Mexicans lead in?
They're very hardworking people.
Okay, and they lead in
what? You can't just say that. You said industry. He said Black people are.
Number one, Mexicans are very hardworking people. I agree. But Sneako's speaking anecdotally. He's speaking like based on like his opinions.
Hardworking. You asked him specific industries. So then I asked, what do Mexicans lead in?
Landscaping.
Okay, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you can
see again, this is like anecdotal stuff. And I remember I used to think like that too when I was a provincial